Turn up the music a little bit. My beard needs a trim. It's like by the end of the week, it becomes a monster. You must tame the monster. You know what I'm talking about. Those of you with beards out there. I assume we are online. I guess I should probably check that to do due diligence. I had to change the embed, actually. They changed the embedding. Oh, looks like something's going on. That looks like I'm there. Apparently I'm live, playing for 0 viewers. We beat everybody up so bad, they all left. Hey, Carrie Knight, how's it going, sir? That was fun watching your video yesterday a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you like really managed to do the thing that we all dream of. Mostly because you were so obsessed with it. I don't know, most people would put it down, like put the multi-core system down and walk away. It's like, yeah, you're like really on it, which is really great. I love that. 10 years of planning and the day has finally come. You can run your Linux and your all your wonderful games, which is great. I mean, he must have really got to understand hypervisor and all that jazz really well. I'm doing it. Good morning, Zeros. Yeah, we have 6 minutes or so of just screwing around, making sure everything's working. I'm glad you caught my sound the other day. That I like actually listened to it yesterday. I was like, whoa, that is like, the Brio has horrible sound. Og, how are you up? Dude, thank you for getting up. He has shared on the Discord before that he gets up at 3 a.m. to be with us. I don't know if I would do that. Although then the other day they caught me. I was like 2 a.m. writing Markdown. Speaking of which, I know you did miss the last session, but I saw that in the chat. Thank you for catching up though. I have posted yes, I have posted the how's it going, Ninjalina? I posted the last 2 videos, so we just have today left. I have not posted any learning project ideas for this week yet, just because I'm behind, honestly. I'm trying my hardest to keep up. Let's see, yeah, for PCI pass-through, you need lots of motherboard research. And that's kind of what I was wondering. Hikari, can you answer definitively whether VMware actually has OpenGL graphics card pass through? Because I know in 2013 it had it. I played Dota 2 on a Linux machine with Windows whatever 10, I think, and it actually worked. And I've heard, I haven't tested it yet, but I've heard, and I have VMware, I need to test it. I've heard that the modern VMware cannot do it as easily. The reason I ask is because I'm just looking for, people ask me all the time, how do I do whatever on Linux? And how's it going, guys? And so a lot of times I'll answer, just use the Vulkan and those kind of answers right now. But for a long time, the easiest answer was just to put VMware on there, pay the money, and suck it up. And I mean, it's a lot of money. It's like $350 now. I was like, oh, it's just $80. And then I looked at the price and I was like, what? I paid that? Stupid me. I mean, especially now with KVM. In case you guys don't know, Akari Knight, who we rated yesterday, I'm really glad I found him. Somebody recommended we rate him. And he is actually running, he was playing Assassin's Creed yesterday on his Linux machine, multi-core system. And he built his whole system with QEMU and KVM stuff. And I'm glad that I found out about him, because when we talked about virtualization on day 2, was it, this week? And it was pretty awesome. I mean, the stuff that he's done. There's the command to shut down Linux, Fedora, exit and log out, remember by the teacher, don't work. From the command line, go to the command line and do shut down You want to just shut it down? -H now. That says halt the system now. That's the standard shutdown command for Unix and Linux. Yeah, there's -- now, I think. Now I'm using the old one. If you want to reboot, by the way, it's shutdown space -R. And if you leave now off, it'll wait because it'll wall everybody on your system. It's an old command that's left over from you. No, don't do init 0. Don't do init 0. Just it's the same thing. It's kind of sudo shutdown. Yeah, -H now. The H is the what keeps it from that halt system. I don't even know if that's still needed. We've actually had several conflicting commands there. This is what I've been doing for a very long time. Systemctl reboot. Wow, that is not what I would do. That's like one, boy, I thought if systemctl overreaches, that's certainly a good way to do it. Just p alias now, huh? Halt is just -p alias. Is it really? I don't even know. I just keep using my old commands. I should look them up and see if they've been updated. Shut down, halt, power off, or reboot the machine. Shutdown may be used to halt, power off, or reboot the machine. The first argument may be a time. And you actually can put a message, I think, to everyone on the system. Say, hey, get ready and shut down. In the old days, when there's thousands of people on the computer, you wanted some notification to shut your work down and save it because the machine was going to go down. So, leftovers from multi-user Linux. Not many multi-user Linux out there, by the way, but picoctf, they have a multi-user system, last I checked, with 37,000 users on it. It is the most users I've ever seen on a single Unix system. Please don't suggest dangerous commands that somebody will actually try without a kappa or some sort of ironical sort of reference. There's lots of beginners in here, and yeah, not cool. I know you think you're smart and funny and everything because everybody does that joke, but the first time somebody actually does it, you'll feel bad. So don't do it. You gotta explain yourself. I removed the command, but it still shows up in your IRC. Okay, yeah, that's just because my IRC is like got a memory. I can go find everything you guys have ever posted ever from the beginning of time, except for anything that you begin with an exclamation point. I was so tired of watching the exclamation point commands of people trying like song lists and everything, so that I actually enabled, this is, I'm giving myself up here, but I enabled the exclamation point, so it's just filtered, and I ended up inadvertently making a back chat channel. So if you're watching Twitch, which I do not do, I very rarely ever open Twitch. Yeah, there's a way for you to say things that I can never see. So please be nice with that. Some people have used it to great effect, apparently. I would not know because I've never seen it. In fact, I wonder if it even... No, it filters it out. It's not even in my history. Wow. I mean, I have to go back in my Twitch history. Tails Live USB to work yesterday. Oh my gosh, I bet you did, keyboard. It's good. It's good fun though, is it not? Playing around with boot loaders and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, messing with like boot stuff and BIOSes, and honestly, I'm also gonna say it. Partitioning. I hate partitioning. I hate it. I mean, when LLVM came out, I was working at IBM, and they had AIX, and they would do LVM, and that's a logical volume manager, which then went on to inspire at least the Linux version of it. And it's great because if you get your partitions wrong, you just add one and you remove one. But I honestly hate it. I hate playing with boot managers. I hate partitioning disks. It's like one of the least fun things you can do. It's because I love decoding bash. I like making things work. I don't like dealing with the low-level stuff. Now, if I was trying to make like some sort of device work, that might be a little bit more fun. You know what I mean? Like some low-level electronics device that I had a plan for. But this, no, just don't like it. That's why I've actually gotten out of practice, because I've been using so many of these, soft Linux distros, some people would call them, that cover all those details up for me. And I'm like, ooh, this is very nice. You know, because I like to make stuff. I don't like to mess with my system. But we all go through that. We all go through a stage where we want to mess with stuff. And so, and that's good. There's people who want to do that professionally. So more power to them. Speaking of which, today is going to be a fair amount of talk about occupations. So let me just go about the schedule review. Here we go. So, what is the name of the program that displays ASCII fish? It's actually called ASCII Aquarium. It is in my GitLab, so it's on my links down there. If you click on my GitLab, my ASCII Aquarium is the only ASCII Aquarium in the world with a transparent background, thanks to the wonderful Undead Leech, maintainer of the Alacrity project and fixer of my ASCII art. So that's the one I would get. Yep, if you want to go get the fish. You made the transparent. If you don't have that, then you get this horrible black background. All right, we're 3 minutes in, so I should probably get going. We don't have a really crammed schedule today, but it's, it's full enough. So watch me end up having that, what's funny? The video just 3 days ago when my system crashed? At the beginning of the video, I said, let me check my uptime. I cursed myself. I looked at my uptime and I was like, oh, let's see if I can I actually literally said the words, I think I can make this uptime through the whole entire beginner boost. And by the end of that session, it ended with me crashing my system. because I was playing around with what was I playing around with? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, I was doing Pop! OS in a virtual machine, and I tried to pull up the TTY. It's like Caster's curse. Do not ever say, let's see how long I can keep my uptime, because you're just guaranteed to kill yourself after that. So now I'm back. Now my uptime is like a ridiculously low, like 2 days, 1 day and 20 hours. Bleh, that's like nothing. I feel so ashamed. I want you. I did everything too to not have to do it. I was like restarted my X like 2 times. I restarted my light DM because that's a really cool thing about Linux. You can actually log in remotely and recover your system, even though you can't do anything in your graphic UI. So that is a really cool thing. In fact, I probably should mention that as a tip. If you're on a safe network or something, enable SSH remote login to your laptop or to your system. Because if your system like totally gets hosed, particularly a desktop system, you can SSH into the thing. And if you can't get your sudo TTY, which I couldn't, and you can remotely connect, and you can actually do all kinds of stuff. And you can recover your system without ever shutting it down. Super cool. So that's something to definitely look for. I kept my server running for 280 days before it crashed due to a power outage. It's usually power. I am reminded that I only have one UPS downstairs for my server cluster, and I need to get another one. Note to self, Rob. You guys, they don't cost very much. Just buy yourself a UPS. Buy a UPS. The first one I got was when I was in Arizona, and we had the monsoons and those lightning storms. There's no electronics that would survive during those lightning storms. This is insane. For streaming, I'm going to add that to my equipment list for up here in the streaming lab. All right, so let's get at it. So what are we going to do today on day 10? You can even reinstall Linux remotely. But in my case, I was just like restarting services and stuff, which you'll become better at doing eventually. Thank God you don't have to mess with Xconfig anymore. There was a time when we used to have to VI edit our X configuration to get our screens to show properly. And if we got the megahertz, if we got the hertz wrong, the refresh rate, we would burn our monitors out and kill them. Those days have passed, thank God. Although I can't remember who, but somebody was doing FreeBSD and they were doing that very thing the other day. I was just like, no, just no. Just right now, a program that can make some sort of snapshot. Yep, you can do that a lot. You can do that with Docker. We just found out. We talked about that on Tuesday. I talked about that a lot on Tuesday too with virtualization. So you can also do that with a virtual machine. If you run your Linux in the cloud like a DigitalOcean, you can actually have it do the backup for you automatically. And so that'll save your whole system. Yep. There's like 3 different ways to create snapshots of your system. I knew of 2 of these before the week started, and now I know of 3. The first 2 are, DigitalOcean snapshots or something like that. You're talking about a snapshot, not just like a copy of your system. That's like something you would rsync the files. The second thing is, like, if you're running a virtual machine, you can sleep the system and it will snapshot and it will remember where you were. And in fact, it's really great for education because you can it's like taking notes along the way. Okay, up to this point, I did this. And it's kind of like commits when you commit with software. And then the third way I just found out today is the Docker commit command. Thank you, Stream, for educating me. Because the Docker commit command, you can actually build a Docker container that's minimal to begin with and do all your things to it. And outside of the Docker container while it's running, you can do Docker commit, give it a new name, and snapshot your Docker container, which I am so looking forward to. In fact, this weekend, if you see me playing around on a stream, when I'm not busting my head on all of this content, to try to get ahead of you, it makes it so great. All I'm gonna do all weekend is play with Docker containers. I'm just gonna play with Docker containers, and I'm gonna restart my Arch distro. I'm actually excited. So I just got like butterflies in my stomach because I'm so excited. I want to do a vanilla Arch Docker container. And I'm going to gradually build it, write the notes up on how to do that. Yeah, Jess is great with that. And then I'm going to snapshot, I'm going to commit basically my different Docker along the way for Arch. And I'm going to build my own Arch CTF distro. Hey, Mina. So I'm just so excited about that. I know that's like, I'm excited about that almost as much as I am about Cyberpunk 2077. Which one is that coming out, by the way? It is Friday. We're kind of off topic. But so I just might do that for entertainment purposes, possibly tonight being Friday night and all. If I do it, you won't be able to watch the video because it's going to get totally muted because I'm going to be playing all kinds of music. I haven't done any kind of just messing around stuff this week because I've been honestly, I've been kind of under the weather, not with COVID, but allergies are kicking my butt. So, and I've been trying to keep up with the documentation. So let's get back on topic. It's Friday. I'm really feeling the Fridays today, people. I'm just really feeling the Fridays today. Let's say my use case is that I'm writing a program which installs quite a lot of programs. An easy way to roll back when I develop that program. Yeah, you definitely want virtual machine snapshots. That is definitely what I would recommend for that kind of thing. You didn't miss anything, Sicko, because I've just been blah, 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 blah. So you're good. It is Friday, and I'm 10 minutes into my first segment. I only have like 40 minutes left. Okay, so what did we do this week? We did a lot of stuff. All the videos are up, by the way. A little bit of administrative stuff I do have to tell you. So I made something. So from the overview page on where is it? rwx.gg. And I just have to let you know, and then I don't have to let you know anymore. So here we go. So from the overview page, I now added a link to the changelog. I have been spending a lot of time talking about everything that's changing on the site, and I decided to put that on. If you want to get to the changelog fast, there's also a link at the bottom of every page that goes to the changelog. I haven't got my last updated ready yet. Every single page will have a last updated timestamp. I just haven't got to it yet. I have that on my other site. And so you'll know when stuff changes, and that's what's up with the knowledge base. This is what I call a progressive knowledge app. So anyway, when you click on the changelog here, this shows you, and here's my first entry for the day. I'm putting everything in here that I've added. So if you are like me and you want to see what has changed, at one point I used to have a page that detected all the pages that had changed within the last 24 hours and automatically built it. I'm not going to recreate that for my new system here because I just want to be able to tell you what's changed. So if you want to watch me like rant on why Python significant white space sucks, you can go read about that if you want to see what syntax means. So what this is it's a knowledge base, so I'm constantly adding and moving things, but really significant thing, and I know you're going to laugh. This is where I get my nickname, Flip Flop Rob. Chris gave me that name, and I forever hate it, but it's fine. So I actually was all worried about teaching you guys Bash, and so I stuffed Golang in here. And after this week, realizing how important it is that we get no flip-flopping, just one flip-flop right here, I put Go back where it belongs, down here in a 3-week thing, and we're going to do Bash. But the first thing we're going to do after Bash is we're going to make our own static site generator using Pandoc and Bash. So structured data and knowledge source, we are going to build the build script that I use every day to build this site in Bash and Pandoc. So that is what this is going to happen this week. And I figured, can we get group assignments? I don't even know what that is. Get that RW going. And in this case, you guys are going to write your own RW. Now, I want to make RW, don't get me wrong. But the main, I realized that you can actually learn a phenomenal amount of stuff about Bash by actually creating your own static site generator. And not to mention, you're going to get all kinds of street cred, because you're going to be able to tell people, how'd you make that site? And say, well, I just wrote a shell script for it. I use Pandoc in a shell script. Really? Yeah. You don't use Hugo or something? No. So, and you'll understand everything that's going on. There are lots of group assignments. What I would like to do is group ideas, learning project ideas that you guys can add. But again, a lot of this is going to be you coming up with the ideas. That is a big one, though, how to do that. This week, though, the only ideas are all about installing Docker. There's really no assignment I can give you other than you really need to try everything this week, because we're not going to get back to that. Termux on how to get Bash fast. Don't know. And I can visit. All right, so that would be great if you could. So back to where I am on task. So look, I figured the one thing we haven't talked about in the Linux world that is still beginner based, you need to understand. We kind of glazed over it really quick last couple days, and that is software. So how do you get stuff on your Linux? And that is a question people have. It's when people come from the Windows or the Mac world, they're like, okay, you go to the site, go download. In fact, when I have beginners all the time, I tell them something like, okay, you need to get whatever on your system. And their first instinct is what? What's their first instinct? What do you think their first instinct is when I tell someone who's never used Linux before how to get software? What do? Okay, so we're going to say let's say, no Grok No App Stores. Okay, so they try to open their browser. They try to look for an app store. Just no. Okay, they think that they can go someplace and click on a link and install stuff. And they haven't, what's really crazy? And I'm going to rant a little about this. What's really crazy is that a couple of computer manufacturers have made the whole world think that the only way to get software is to go click on a thing and do the install. Or to go to, God help us all, go to app stores, which, by the way, I wrote a big old rant on. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to link to it. App stores. I'm just going to show you real quick. I promise not to go down this rabbit hole, but if you want to read it. App stores, what the F were we thinking? There are 2 billion users versus 50 million iOS users. Brian Kinish, former Google engineer turned privacy advocate. App stores used to be where you had to get your apps. They were a massively failed attempt to monopolize the ecosystem. These statements are actually based on things from MIT and Forbes magazine and a bunch of other people who have finally concluded officially app stores are dead. If you're getting your stuff from an app store, that's going to change. AppGet has been a superior app since 1998. It so has. And so, yeah, we all thought that, 3 companies could manage the applications that would run on all devices, all consumer devices. And I put a little thing here. The idea that 3 or 4 companies would entirely control the vast majority of all software through a crappy, poorly vetted, highly biased, 30% extorted market is downright idiotic. One day people in the future will look back at how we collectively lost our minds to allow this to happen. The future will just shake its head in shame as if it doesn't outright guffaw at the lack of at this level of absurdity. Seriously, what were we thinking? And it's funny because, Microsoft, I think, was the first to give in and say, you know what, we are going to discover progressive web apps. Still part of our store, but we're going to help you discover progressive web apps. It was almost like they're like, oh, we are going to join the crowd. Apple, meanwhile, is over there in their corner doing their own thing still. May they rest in peace. Okay, so anyway, that's my little rant about the app stores. It actually, believe it or not, it is relevant to today's conversation, because when people think about how to get software on their computer, the first thing they think, if they haven't been exposed to Linux, is where's the app store? Where's the site to download it? And that's not how we do things in Linux. You can do it that way. I even have, where's mine? Where's my package manager? So I should probably see. So there's lots of like happy, feely, software managers. Synaptic Package Manager is one. There's another couple of these. These aren't bad. But the thing that's great about them is they're built on top of a very, very mature package management system. They're not the end goal. They're the thing that's built on the system. So if you're new to Linux, and this is a boost, you need to understand what software package management is about, how software gets thrown around. And if you're from the Apple world, the closest thing you can think of is like, you remember when you download those when you download an app from Apple, you double click on it and it opens up. It actually mounts. And we talked about ISOs yesterday, and doing USB sticks. And a lot of you might not know this, but did you know that every single Mac application, when it gets installed like that, when you double click it, it mounts an ISO, and that's what Snap does. If you know what Snap does, that's what Snap is doing. Snap is actually copying Apple, and if I don't have to explain to you why that's a problem. so Apple, when you double click on a thing on an Apple desktop, on a Mac, it will mount that installation thing, and then you can drag stuff around. So what those little things are, they're all little images. They're tiny little images of CD-ROMs in the old days. And when you open up, they actually show up as devices, and that's why you have to disconnect them. Now, there's other ways to install on Apple as well, but that's one of the core ways of doing that. So yeah, lots of good input on there on how to deal with Snap partitions, but they do is they're not real partitions, but they're called loopback partitions, which means they look like a disk, but they're really not. They are mounted as a disk partition, even though they're pointing at the file itself, and so that's one of the ways you can get around that. Yeah, that's for Snap. So I'm talking about Snap. Synaptic is for app. So there's lots of different ways of managing packages. Let's talk about Windows for a second. On Windows, when you download something, almost always it's an MSI. I don't even know what it means, Microsoft installer. And when you click on it, it runs its installer and does its thing. Yeah, and there's lots of different ways to do installation. Yesterday you saw when we did Balena Etcher. So there's a new way to get software. And Balena Etcher is actually an app image. And this is actually kind of a promising technology where you just unzip the thing, schmod it, and run it. And it's just an app. It just runs. And that's very much in line with some of the stuff that Apple used to do with their asset fork. You guys know anything about asset forks in Apple? So Apple packages are just directories with a special name, and there's all the assets are inside of it. So yeah, some pretty interesting stuff. Anyway, so if you're, again, I'm speaking to the beginners here. So yeah, folder.app. If you go down in your command line on an Apple computer, you will see that the applications are just directories, which they call folders for some reason. And so they call them folders and they call them .app, and they show up on your desktop as if it was like a thing, but really it's just a directory, and you can actually go into it and mess with it. And in that sense, that's one thing that all of these software package managers have in common. And I used to have to create Red Hat packages for IBM when I was working there. And they all have the same thing in common. They are a bunch of files with some sort of installer configuration that have been bundled together in some way. And sometimes they're just a plain old directory. Sometimes they're a directory that has been compressed. That's when you get a zip file. Sometimes that's what tarballs are, actually. I mean, jars are in JavaScript, Java. And, you know, in any case, it's all some way of taking a bunch of assets and bundling them together, code and everything around that. So yes, you had some issues here. I'm just reading. Remember to take notes. Yes, please remember to take notes. I have a little bit of a guide here for your notes, but you have to rewrite it. You might be better if you have notes, because you know what, you don't have to go back and watch the whole video. Error reporting is on by default. I did not know that. That's good to notice, Og. Thanks for bringing that up. Electron app for DD, if they have one. Is there one? The only problem I have with Etcher is why. Yeah, we talked about Etcher yesterday. I'm not going to cover Etcher at all again today. I made a really, really strong case for Etcher, and I'm going to leave it at that. But that's a good question. Why not use Cad or DD? I really am not going to get drug into that conversation again. We spent at least 30 minutes on it, so please watch that video. This is for beginners. And we don't recommend things like DD to a beginner, not even Rufus, which is a fail. Rufus fails most of the time on Windows, and it doesn't have built-in checksum validation, blah, blah, blah. So that's why. So you can go back and watch all of that. There's quite a lengthy discussion about this here. All right, so software package managers. Etcher, by the way, is not a package manager. It's a way to get an image onto a USB stick. And again, I talked about that yesterday. Hi, Scream. So next we have what is an app store, why no app stores, and there's actually some other, there's kind of an unrelated conversation here about progressive web apps, which is an interesting thing, and I almost should put like, what about web apps? PWAs. It does kind of fall into this thing, but it's not a package. Okay, so web apps. The whole day. I mean, this whole segment is about software, how to get software, and so I do want to make sure to at least briefly mention PWA. A PWA is a web app that you can click download on, and we'll put it on your computer. That's it. It is going to be, I don't have any question about this, it is going to be the number one way that you'll be getting apps in the future. There's no package manager to deal with. There's no extra software. You just click download, and it downloads the app and puts it on your phone and uses your web browser to do it. So it also saves you an extra copy of Electron. In fact, the biggest complaint that I and a lot of people have against Electron is it's unnecessary when you implement your app as a progressive web app instead. The progressive web app uses whatever is on the system, Chrome, Firefox, whatever, and uses that as otherwise what it would use for the copy of Chromium that's built into every Electron. So that's why people complain about Electron. Every single Electron application that's running on your computer, Slack, Discord, whatever, all has a full version of Chromium in it, a full version of Node, and is running a WebSocket communication system. So that bloat quickly makes you run out of RAM, and that's why people really don't like it. So this is yeah. So the idea of PWAs is PWA's the question about telemetry. You could. The question about telemetry is more a question about the people making the app. The biggest complaint against progressive web apps is that they are controlled by whoever makes it. In fact, I don't want to get down in the weeds on this, but if you'll remember a similar issue when, like, Epic decided to not use an app store, and they decided to do everything on their own, and the backlash was, well, people are going to download things and not know it's the right thing, and they're going to get owned, and there's not going to be any security. And so the big complaint against downloading things from the source is that people can be trolled because they're too dumb to recognize the real thing. And I think that's a rather weak argument against an internet that's free from app stores. But that's the biggest argument against letting people. It's also the biggest argument against letting people repair their own iPhones, right? To repair. Oh, we cannot never ever trust repairmen because we just cannot. We don't know how good they're going to be. We have to have somebody prove to everybody else that they're trustworthy. And so this is a big thing about distribution of software that's out there right now. Yeah. So the Electoral College is not, something that would be right store and not in the first place. Yeah. Steam was really early with their Steam store on Windows. Right. So whatever you think of all of this, the distribution of the software is a thing. This can it be trusted question, though, is going to come up again. And so before we get into the weeds on the actionable commands, I really, really want to talk about Arch. So Arch has a thing. So I'm going to do a search for you. I'm going to do the search for you. What is the Arch user repository? Okay. So you're trying to get software. So we're talking about the question about, well, where do you get the software? If there's no app store, where do you get it? Obviously, somebody's putting the software out there. Where do you get it? In the case of a progressive web app, you're just downloading the thing. Okay. In the case of like Debian software, which we just looked at, you're getting it from Canonical's approved list of built-in software. And they have got another thing out there, which we're going to talk about later, where you can actually, sign their agreement and say, I promise not to do bad things. And you can actually add yourself to their software distribution sort of network. And PPA, we're going to talk about PPAs coming up. But in the case of Arch has taken the position of... I didn't slander Canonical by saying Debian was canonical. I said that Canonical has allowed you to do that, but the Debian, that's a long story. Yes, I know what you mean. Ubuntu. Are you saying Ubuntu is not canonical? Is that true? Maybe I need to correct myself there. I could have swore Ubuntu is canonical 100%. Yeah, but the Debian package management, yeah, for sure. Totally with you on that. And that's a big thing because the Debian people hate Canonical. They're free software people. They do not like what Canonical has done with Debian. So anyway, but let's talk about Arch for a second. We didn't talk about Arch because it's not a beginner distro. But one of the things you really need to understand about Arch, I believe it's the single greatest value proposition of Arch besides being so up to date, is that Arch has this miraculous thing and horribly dangerous thing called the Arch user repository. And what it is basically a network of places to download software that ultimately boils down to having a Git repo. How is it dangerous? Well, it's dangerous because there's no vetting. Okay, so if we talk about the justifications for app stores, it's vetted by us. So every time we talk about where you get your software, there's a conversation, and I don't mind this conversation going off the rails as long as it stays around these questions. How can where you get your software be trusted? The strictest thinking on this is thou shalt not distribute anything on the Apple App Store unless we approve of it. It's cool enough. We get 30%, and we have proven that it's secure. I mean, that's what they say. It's not true, but that's what they say. And most of their stuff is really hard to get out there, and there's definitely been insecure stuff removed. But the vetting process, the justification for it is we want to make sure everything is Apple quality. Well, like 1% of the apps in the Apple App Store are actually used. Everything else is absolute crap, and it's completely failed as a proposition. But that's the premise. You'll be safer if you let us check it out for you. Okay, so they've proven that their 30% cut also gets deducted, aka secure. Yeah. So the opposite of this is the AUR. They're way over here. They're like, you know what? You should take responsibility for installing your own software, and everybody can publish stuff to be published on anybody's system anywhere, and we're just going to make it really easy for you to find it. But that also means that absolutely nothing is being vetted by any organization. Okay, and I'm going to mention my most hated Linux distro of all time, Manjaro. So Manjaro actually lies to everybody and says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make a copy of the AUR, which we will vet for you like Apple. And we'll make sure it's good. We'll protect you. And that's where you can put it. You can put Manjaro on your business systems and all kinds of things. So this is what they promise people. It's not what they do, but that's what they promise people. And so they not only do they have the AOR, they claim to have the flexibility of this nice, broad, open community. And then they have this like really, really strict, safe, appeal to business types saying, oh, but we have our own safe version of the AUR. They have their own name for it and everything. All they really do is rubber stamp stuff from the AUR and pull it over into another repository that they control completely. Okay, so now you have that whole range of stuff going on. So the question comes, if you've been involved with the Epic when they released Fortnite, for example, they decided they were going to release the new Fortnite on their own. Epic was going to do their own thing and not do it under an app store. All of the issues applied to the distribution of that software that apply to this conversation right here today. So which one is right? And I'm going to put the debate out there. I'm going to put the debate out there for the next 10 minutes or so. What is better? Is it better to trust the users to install the software and make sure they know what they're installing at the risk of them saying, oh, here's Minecraft, and have it not be Minecraft? Because how many, dude, somebody, I wish I had AUR up right now. Somebody do a search on the AUR for Minecraft. There's got to be at least like 12 hits. None of them are Minecraft. You're playing Fortnite right now. Okay, so that's like the one side of it. And then the other side of it is you can't distribute anything unless you pay you bow down and pay your $100 a year just to get the right to be rejected by Apple. So that's the one side. And then the other side is like, total mayhem. Minecraft functions mode for Emacs. Oh, you kidding me? Really? That's so cool. Trust users for sure. I think I'm with you, Og. As a beginner, I would prefer some level of confidence to know I'm not downloading malware. That's a good question. The area will have Git repos. I don't think Pacman runs the bleeding edge on anything, but it's usually very up to date. This is my misunderstanding. I have to understand Arch better. Can someone describe to us how directly and quickly I can publish a Git repo and have it show up in Pacman? So, do you see what I'm saying? Seems to depend on how good of a vetting process actually occurred. I agree with Keyboard. Most people want that. And so, as a beginner, this is why we're having this conversation. This is also another reason I'm not bagging on Arch. I've told you, right, already. I'm looking forward to setting up an Arch system tomorrow with Docker. But, something like Pop! OS or Mint, the Debian-based stuff, even Canonical, love them or hate them, there is at least some level of vetting of the standard packages. So this is why I honestly think Mint and the Ubuntu-based systems have actually hit this the best for beginners. And here's why. Because for beginners, for beginners, there's a bunch of stuff that's standard. Okay. And that's fine. 90% of the time, that's going to cover everything you ever want. But if you want something extra, if you want the latest Golang, you can add what's called a PPA, and you can go through a few extra steps that say very explicitly, I trust this other package repository. And by now, everybody complains about adding PPAs and because it's an extra step. They just want it to be done for them. But I actually think it's a good thing, because what that does is it meets the middle road between this is in our standard, Canonical itself approves of these things, Ubuntu distribution, Mint, whatever. Their team has approved of these things, and so it's had the most vetting possible for Linux. And then over here you have, well, there's other people have made their own things, but when you add a PPA that has been entered onto Launchpad, you might hate Canonical, but if you are a developer and you want your package out there to be, your software to be distributed, you can go to Canonical and on Launchpad, and you can add yourself, and you have to sign a thing. It says they can find you. You have to give them your information. So it's not like you can just do it. So, but it's also not charging you $30, right? Or 30%, and they're not, doing all the stuff Apple does. So I actually think that Launchpad is a nice, when you're sleeping. I think that something like Launchpad that Canonical is doing meets the middle of the road better than any other solution, particularly for beginners. Because if you do decide, no, I actually want to use this stuff, you can actually explicitly go in and add a PPA, and we're going to talk about how to do that today, to enable something new. I do that for Go and a couple of other things. AOR works in harmony with Pacman. It's a wrapper, I believe. Okay, so this is my justification for recommending the Ubuntu-based systems for beginners, which includes all of the ones we mentioned before, Papa West Mint and even raw Ubuntu. Does that mean that I like Canonical or System 76? Do I agree with what they've done? In terms of selling out to corporations to get software to just work? That's a different debate. I have mixed feelings on that, but it does make it easier for beginners. All right, so enough on that. But the AOR is not for beginners. See, Launchpad is quite nice. I used to make my Ubuntu and Debian packages for Unix RuneScape client I made back in 2011. And yes, I tested the package repo against Debian to make sure it didn't break. People said, this is Hikari. He knows what he's doing. This is somebody who has distributed software. I have someone who's getting ready to distribute a client-based, a terminal-based color picker, and we are going through the process of Launchpad. I'm actually kind of getting ahead of myself, but let me. I did want to. It might be that I actually was going to do Launchpad at a different point in the process, but so. This is what I'm talking about. If you go out to, Canonical Launchpad, and we didn't, growing up, we didn't have this, to tell you the truth. We didn't have Launchpad. If you added a PPA, it was a pain. Does anybody remember that? You had to edit your Etsy files with VI to even add a PPA. Do you guys remember the pain of that? Nowadays, adding a PPA is like a few shell commands and you're done. And it's I think this is a really good middle way. So if you're a beginner, you care because you're going to be able to add somebody else's software easier, like our friend here who made a RuneScape client, or you're going to be wanting to produce software, and this is a way that you can get your software out there. Better make sure you test it though. And it's actually really cool because you actually get to make your own Debian packages. So Launchpad is GitHub for PPA. Kind of, yeah. This is kind of what it is. So once you make a Debian package, a .deb file, which means you have to make those, you can actually put it on Launchpad. Now, I don't know that this is a beginner thing, but I definitely would put it in your list of things to do as a learning activity. You can go sign up for Launchpad, and you can actually test putting your own packages out there, and making your own Debian package. That's a pretty valuable skill to list on your resume. I have made a package. I mean, I was paid to do that for IBM for years, maintaining the RPM packages for the software that we had put together. Yeah, I use RPM packages too. So let's talk about our package managers for a second. And I didn't really get a chance to go into that. I only have 3 or 4 minutes left on this segment, but let's talk about all the different package managers out there. And in fact, I want to open up a new file here, and I want to actually pkg I'm going to actually create a new directory, and I want to just for 5 to 10 minutes, I just want to write every single package manager that you guys know about. And I saved this activity for today because I know some of you know about package managers that I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and put one so we know about Red Hat package manager. I mean, we're throwing around a lot of names here of people that might not know that. We talked about Debian package manager, Debian, nice package manager. So yeah, Yum. But see, this is the thing. We need to understand the difference between Yum and Red Hat. So this includes Yum. Yum is a different thing, though, right? And again, this is just a guide for you to go study. So Debian package manager includes apt and dpkg. So when you see these words, so that you know what they're talking about. Yay is the, let's do the Arch one. So Arch, is it part of the Arch user repository? Is that fair? Yast is the SUSE one, yes. Okay, so we have Yast. What is that? Is that SUSE package manager? What's it called? Pip, yeah, Pip, the Pip, NPM, and Cargo. So that's a good question. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk. There's actually an entire. We have software. Okay, so let's talk about that. So we have system software. How do you even distribute? We have, what do you call these? Software package managers. And then you have this other thing. You have language-specific package managers, SUSE, and don't forget Geeks. We're going to put Geeks on there. You guys know about Geeks? I don't know where Geeks goes, but we needs to go there for sure. We have language. Brew is a package manager. It deserves to go. It's not a Linux package manager, but it deserves to go on here, right? Brew. What was the one? Aptitude. So, I mean, I want to create a page that has it all on there. Cabal is the Haskell one. Yeah, you guys go too fast. Okay, so let's just do language packages. So languages are, we have Cabal for Haskell. Cabal is I don't even know which one to put first. And then we have, I've got 1 minute left and I have to take a break. What's going on? Oh, somebody's opening the door. Cabal, aptitude. Are you there? What's going on?
I'm sorry, you said 1 minute, so I
I'm like, I have 1 minute to go. All right, so people, somebody put those together. Go get, yes. So is it not, if you're a beginner, is it not immediately clear how confusing all of these package managers are? So this is what I'm trying to, we need one source for all of the package manager references so people can figure that out. You know what I mean? Because Chocolatey is a good Windows one. I want to mention that one. Chocolatey, this, and we have Snap. I mean, there's so many. What is Snap even for? You know, is that we have Zipper for SUSE. You know what? I have an IRC log, so just feel free. I'm going to go ahead and take my break for 15 minutes. Fill up my IRC log with every possible package software related technology you can think of. I appreciate your help here. And then I plan to organize them into at least one page that summarizes where they are and where they go. Community, we'll do the pull request. Okay. All right. Well, you know what you're doing there. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see, build, and we'll go ahead and do a save package and packages. And then, yeah, if you want to do a pull request, I'd appreciate that. I'm going to be gone for 15 minutes. Have fun, crowd. Help us put this together. Yeah, what does BSD do? Yeah, we need to know what are all the package managers. How do we manage all the things, both software and languages, I guess you would say. All right, I'll be back. But I'm not going to be back until when? AFK until 12:10. And then where's the fish, people? We need some fish. We need some nicely packaged fish. Does Make count as a package manager? Good question. All right. See you soon. And thank you. Thank you for doing this. This is going to make it easier for everybody to just look at and understand. Boy, does time fly by. Wow, look at that. 12/10/01. Woo! Nailed it. Linux distributions timeline. You found a Linux distributions timeline? God bless you. Oh, wait. No, we found this already. No, I'm sorry. Salted, thank you. We already saw this. We saw this last week. First day. What I thought I got overly excited for the wrong reasons. I thought for a second that you had found a package manager timeline. Wouldn't that be cool? Because I think they're kind of influenced from each other. Which kind of is a nice segue. RW excited. That sounds like something that needs to go on my merch. RW excited. Oh God. Please no. Speaking of merch, I have 2,000 SkillStack t-shirts taking up room in my closet downstairs that my wife tells me I need to get rid of. So, because this is from my old company, skillstack.io, learn code, save the world. So, I am going to start giving them away. I don't know how. They cost me $3 each because I bought so. Oh, we're getting raided again. Oh, BeginBot raid. Hey, BeginBot, how's it going? So I'm probably just gonna award them to people or something, and if you pay shipping, and I don't know, like I don't even know what it is. Seriously though, they came in about $3 or $4 because I bought so many. I was planning on doing stuff for Australia. The raid worked. Did you do a coded raid? Did you guys BeginBot? Did you guys do a coded raid? Did you code one? Do a raffle. I'll pay $20. Really? Wow, I could probably do that. See, you know what? I just was like, I kid you not. This is not like some hyped up thing. My wife has been cleaning up, doing spring cleaning, and she just found all of these boxes from leftover SkillStack. And so I got all of these t-shirts of different sizes. Let's see. We are from BeginBot stream. Welcome, Crazy Tech. Good to see you guys. We are just playing around with Linux and talking about package managers and how to get software onto your computer these days. And particularly if you have a Linux machine. What does that mean? Oh, we got a sub. Woohoo! Make it for the 20 that dropped yesterday. All those people who signed up for hacking. And they're like, he's talking about Linux beginner stuff. I'm so happy to be free. Yeah, I bait and switched on accident. I didn't mean to. That's just the nature of who I am. Trippy background. I do have a pretty trippy background, don't I? Yeah. How did I get the fish in the terminal? Well, I was very nice to them. Good old bait and switch. Do you want to see? I have guys, I have the Fridays. I cannot make it through my material today. I'm like totally Fridaying out. Have you fed the fish? I know, I need to feed the fish today. So let me show you where you too can find fish. It's actually in the let me see which one it is. I think it's RWX Rob. Let me go check. So GitLab.com RWX ROB / ASCII aquarium. I think I changed it to fish. Nope, that's it. So there's the fish. You can have the fish. Actually, I think I embedded the pearl stuff in it, so you don't have to go set it up. So there's just some fishies if you want the fishies. Just keep in mind that the other ASCII aquariums out there do not have transparent background. Oh, fishing. Ha, 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 ha. Oh my gosh. Okay. I refuse to laugh at that. Well played. But this is pretty fun, huh? It's like the fish are swimming in a hot pool of lava or something. But anyway, what were we talking about? Time for me to get on track. 404 not found. How can that be? I copy and pasted it. Is it private? Oh my gosh, I made my fish private. And I did send you there. I am totally trolling you now. I can't believe this has been private the whole time. Wait, there's also nothing here. Now I'm a little scared. I'm now scared. Oh, please tell me. Wait. Wait. Oh, I know why. I totally trolled you. I did not mean to. So, yeah. Oh, wow, you found one. So, it's actually in my dot files. I forgot to put it in my dot files. Here it is right here. I forgot I moved it. Because it's just like one script, and so I got rid of the whole thing. I'm sorry, I don't even remember my own configuration. I should know that, but I don't. So inside of my scripts directory, which is where I have no idea. So dot files, be more organized than me. Let's see, scripts, and where are you, fishies? And I pretty much said, here's the fishies. I found them. You too can have the fish. So here they, oh boy, what'd I do? Okay. Here's the fish. This is the actual script that I ran. Here, fishy. There's the fish. And I need to delete that other fish repo, which has nothing in it, is private, which I totally trolled you with. Okay, wait. Linux package management tools reference. Let's see here. Linode's got some really great documentation. Dependency resolution. Wow, this is a great resource. apt-get. You know what? It's also super out of date. Don't you love that? It is. It's a Perl script. Is that crazy or what? It's a Perl script. It uses something called ASCII. I tell you what. You want to get a bounty? Copy ASCII animator. Somebody found it actually in Go, but copy the Perl ASCII animation library underneath the fish that allows it to happen. Terminal aquarium for free. You can read all the shell script yourself. Make sure I'm not phishing you. Aptitude, sources list, using PKG. Yum. I think I knew it was Yellow Dog Updater. I've been using it all this time, did not know. This is clearly a reference material. Slackware package manager. Oh my god. This is so written by Linux people. Pacman. This is a good guide. Everybody should look at that guide that was posted. That's a very good guide. And I am now going to put that guide into my PKG README under resources at the end, where I will come clean it up. If no one's actually making a pull request, are they? If they are, I might have just made a merge problem. So here we go. Linode, Linux package management. This is called Markdown package management. And I'm putting a link here. And this is so great about Pandoc. Look what Pandoc lets you do. Pandoc lets you do annotation tags. So you can do that and it'll actually implement that. And I can build it. And now you can go see it in my fun thing here. Wait, where is it? All right, here we go. So /pkg. Oh, you didn't. Okay, well that's fine. I'll go ahead and merge it with this. So, and then here it is. Here it is down here. Linux package management. See all that fancy highlighting? I got all that just from by telling it I wanted it to be the C class. Yeah. Yeah, I just love Pandoc. I mean, it just makes documentation and writing so easy. I cannot wait to talk about it, which is why I killed that week ahead of it. And we're going right into that. We're doing 2 weeks. We're doing a Linux book next week. I'm kind of all over the place today. But I do want to say, well, let me get back on task. But part of the day today is going to be talking about next week. And next week is all about learning Linux command line. I will talk about latex, yes, and we'll talk about KTeX specifically. We will not be learning a lot of latex I know so much. Well, that's that's because I'm old. That's why I've just been here longer. Most people who know a lot of stuff, they just been here longer, spending their time learning. That's why. Honestly, I learned from people that were older than me. It's kind of how it works, people. The old people figure it out. You know what's really sad, though? There are people that get older and stop learning. What is up with that? What is up with the people who think that they're done learning? I mean, seriously, I know you've met them. If you think you're done learning, you should just die. Because what is the point? I mean, listen to your elders. Yeah. RWX boomer. Not a boomer. Not a boomer. Not a boomer. My new favorite nickname is Doomer. We were trying to come up with a nickname for Gen Xers, and I absolutely love Doomer because Doom came out when I was in college. Not Zoomer. You can't do Xzoomer because it turns out to be Zoomer. I played Doom. Doom was my generation, dude. Okay, so I hereby I hereby dub my generation Doomers, because Doom defined our age. Doom was what we were playing in college, and you know what else? Gen Xers as is pop. Yes, I don't know. You have to go figure it out. If you're Gen X, you're a Doomer. So okay, here we go. We started it today. It's going to become a thing. Everybody, hashtag Doomer, hashtag Doomers for the Gen Xers, because here's why. So there's been two different blog posts about this. Okay, I know I'm totally off the rails, but there's like one blog post that's like why Gen X has been preparing its whole life for this COVID crisis. Seriously, Gen X has been preparing its whole life for this COVID crisis because we were the first generation that was like left at home all by ourselves with nothing to do except for play Doom. And we if you watch, there's a I'm going to write a blog about this. There's a really funny sitcom, Saturday Night Live skit about the millennials having to survive the boomers. Did you see this? This is Friday. I should probably show it. It is so funny. And the guy who is the talk show host says, he goes, oh, well, I see he's having a millennial snit. He's going, I'm sure you can go, I'm sure you might want to go tweet about it. And he just laughs. He goes, I'm just playing. I'm Gen X. I just like to watch the world burn. and that plays along really well. Yeah. I mean, millennials are great too. I am not a generation biased guy. There are some things about the boomer generation that I totally can't stand, but that goes for pretty much any age at any time. There's always something you can find in there. The thing I don't get is the hippies who become lawyers and then brag about their offices, which is actually a thing. And if you ever want to watch Enlighten Up, it's about this guy who goes on a journey to discover what yoga is really about. And his dad was a big hippie, and now he's like a corporate lawyer. And they're like, how does that transformation happen? He's bragging about how big his office is. And his mom is like this hippie chick. Just crazy. So that's kind of the boomers. They all started out as, a lot of them started out as hippies, and then anyway, I am like so off the rails. I have such Friday-itis today. Let me see if I can get myself back on track. I'm technically a millennial, but I have more in common with Gen Xers. Yeah, and we're not all like sad. I did think it was interesting that Gen X had to pick between Britpop and Lilith Fair. It was kind of like, which is it? There was never really one thing. Mostly could be, and we were of course we were teens during the 80s, which meant all of that. Anyway, so I'm 2 years off. We had grunge. We did. Yes, we did. But it was so funny because we had grunge and then you had Britpop, and they actually don't go together. So tonight, stay tuned. Come back tonight. I'm going to be putting on all kinds of music and freaking out because I really have the Fridays today. People, I have got the Fridays. I just want to get my party going on. I really don't want to talk about package managers. You want me to be honest? I don't. I like them. I use them. You need to understand them. We're done. Okay. So, but Now, let's do something fun. Time for a program. Yeah, go and party. I mean, have you guys ever been to the exactly? I mean, have you ever been to I'm totally hanging out tonight. I don't know how or when or what time, but I'm gonna come back. It might be sooner than later. I have to obviously I have to teach tonight and make money so I can live. But after that's over, which is like 9 or 10, I'm definitely coming back tonight. Unless something really seriously happens to my mood or I get co-opted. Let's just sell Z-Shell on Manjaro and Docker. Why not? Why do I think React is bad? React is doing a lot of amazing things for the world right now, even though I hate it. So I just don't like what it makes the world into. We're not gonna no negativity right now. Come on, kumbaya. Strangely enough, I still have 30 minutes left of this segment to cover whatever it was I was supposed to cover. So let's go look at what that is. You think my coffee is what's doing this? I think it might be a contributing factor. Yeah, I watched Last Miles talk about coffee while he had just downed an entire full bottle of whiskey. And you should have heard the wisdom coming out of him about coffee. He was like citing statistic after statistic about why coffee is good for your brain. It was so funny. It was like, but he was like still, like very accurately describing why coffee is like scientifically proven to be good for your brain. Yeah, I know. It's just crazy. I don't do coffee alcohol. You know what? I did it for years. I was Mormon for 42 years. Coffee would send you straight to hell. I'm not exaggerating. Yep. Cannot drink coffee, go to hell. No religious talk. I don't judge people who don't drink because I was that guy. I'm like, I don't drink. Try living in Russia and not drinking. What do you mean you don't drink? Yeah, I can't drink alcohol at all now. I tried the other day and it about knocked me on my butt. Stephen Colbert is the same way. When you hit a certain age, sometimes your body doesn't react to alcohol very well. So just warning you right now. If you're going to do it, have fun now. I know it should almost be illegal to not drink it. I drink only coffee, not alcohol. You know what else alcohol does? It blunts your brain. So sometimes you need that, but most of the time, no. Being called a weird Norwegian that doesn't do Norwegian stuff. Enjoy it while you can. Yeah, you can. I mean, there's going to come in. Do I have tried Cocoa Black? I have not tried that. I actually might want to try that. Ooh, this is some good ideas. Sound black. See, I'm like learning more here. Just don't put any sweeteners in it, and it's pretty hardcore brew. I'm not joking. I stopped drinking after high school in Russia. No, really? Wow, fantastic. I mean, there's lots of stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm not judging anybody who does, but yeah, by chasing Balmer Peak at all times. Oh, give it up for me! Give it up for me! They don't know what you're talking about, Beginner Bot. You need to show that on your stream next time. Begin Bot, you gotta. I'll let you show it. Did you find the dubstep or like there's like a dubstep remake of that? Is it your raid scene? Seriously? No kidding? Give it up for me. Oh man, you're my kind of people. That's awesome. Well, I love that thing. I need to make a raid scene. See, I'm inspired. I'm inspired by you. And the one who uses our computer. Coffee. Someone added dubstep as a sound effect. Did they? Yeah, they did. It's like, have you seen the one? And it puts it like, it's all right. Enough piano. You guys, I blame you. No, I take full responsibility. I blame no one but myself. Developers. I mean, it's Friday. If we can't party on Friday, developers. You know what? I'll have all kinds of learning things for you to do over the weekend in exchange for being able to show you this really great music video. That you have to know this. If you don't know this, you can't call yourself a technologist. I just this is like, here, I'll give you the link. Oh, it's insane. Here it comes. It's like totally rocking. I cannot get enough of this, man. My wife hates it. When she hears it come on, she runs in the other room. She hates it. Who said sit down? Oh my god. Monkey boy. Monkey boy Balmer. What will we do? I love this company. There's like, let's have Garfield in here. I mean, memes, because the memes. Oh, I'm like, you're not getting the full experience. I need to like, wait, maybe I should full screen it. I should. Developers. I mean, come on, this is some pretty, look at that cutting and pasting. Look at that, they only got a little bit of white stuff on the outside of it. We live in a wonderful time, people. A time when anybody can make a video of this magnitude. I mean, come on. There was a time when if you made a video like this, it would destroy your computer. It would burn a hole through the ground. He spent a lot of time making this thing. I mean, we really need to like appreciate that effort. Oh my gosh. I do wonder what age the guy was who made it, because it does have kind of a 70s vibe. Sorry, Steve. Sit down. Take a break, Steve. We're done with you. We're done with Steve for a while. Here's to Fridays. All right. Well, let's at least make sure I didn't miss anything significant. I mean, because that would be bad. But we can play back to the 80s synth wave, I guess. Some pretty good synth wave. All right, so Friday mood for sure. Can I control my Friday mood? I should take responsibility for my distraction, but it is Friday, and it's a great day out there, man. I don't know if I'm gonna paddleboard today or do yoga. It's a great thing. Need more glitter and streamers for Friday. You do, yes, we do. My Friday night Fortnite. Woohoo! You know what? I almost got tempted to play Fortnite the other day when I saw a guy do the Conan O'Brien dance. I was like, okay, maybe I could do that. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, there's too much stuff to learn. I mean, I'm not judging people who play games. I'm just like, there's just other stuff to do, such as finish out our beginner boost day here. I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss anything on the schedule. Rip Taylor and his confetti. I can't believe... Yes. Nobody here knows that reference, but I get it. Right? They're too hard to learn. Linux is easy and more fun. Yes, the dances. Slowly descending into madness. I am on one Discord account watching 2 Twitter streams and audio. You know, is it madness though? Is it madness or is it, is it multitasking? You know, the Stanford study found that those who feel like they're the best multitaskers are actually the worst at it. You only know about Rip Taylor from Wayne's World? Wow. I'm going to have to watch all of Wayne's World again just because of that comment. So, package managers, you know about them. We know what about PPAs are. You know, Benny Hill. Oh, I have the entire series. I bought it. God bless Benny Hill. It was the only time you could see boobies on a television in 1980. I mean, I waited up until 2 a.m. to see those boobies some nights. I am not ashamed. It was like, PBS. PBS, the one sure source of boobies for teenagers in the 80s. When they were limited to 3 channels. God bless European television imports living in America. Baywatch in the 90s. Oh, God. All right, we're descending. This is supposed to be suitable for afternoon Friday viewing, so I'm going to take it up a notch again. Get back onto the classy, got to take the class up a notch or two. But who are we kidding? The target audience is 16 and up. So, D&D, yes, D&D. I played D&D a lot. So does Stephen Colbert. So do lots of people. D&D is really fun still. Linux Week is almost over. Understanding Professional. Okay, this is a fun thing we can do. This is not too completely, totally brain dead boring. This week has been pretty fun, I will admit. Yesterday we had a lot of fun. But we were talking about hardware and we couldn't really do anything. The day before that, we learned about virtualization. I learned about Docker. I learned the Docker commit. I VIP'd somebody for teaching me Docker commit. That's how little I knew about Docker. And now I am going to Docker commit my Arch distro and make my own capture the flag Arch distro instead of having to have a full VM. And I'm so excited. In fact, I might even do that for fun tonight while I'm jamming out. Dude, it is so stinking cool. I know. I'm going to push it to hub. Exactly. See, Lakshan, you're thinking like me here. See, I want to make my Docker hub and I just want to pull the thing down, hack my try hack me or hack my hack the box or over the wire and have all my tools on the current terminal command line and just run it like that. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. So that was a thing that we did this week. We're reviewing what happened this week, by the way. We talked about that 2 days ago, so you can watch the video on that. There's a YouTube on that too. Let's see, play with my 4-year-old. Yes, 6-level wizard, dude. You know what? Can I? Since we're kind of off the rails, not kind of. Dungeons and Dragons. Play it with your kids. I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding you. Play Dungeons and Dragons with your kids. If you have young kids, play Dungeons and Dragons with them. Set up a regular thing for them. Be fun with it. Experiment with it. The first time they sit down and they say, "How do we play this game?" You say, "You just tell me what you do." I'm like, "You mean I just tell you?" It will blow their mind in the best way possible, guys. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Montessori student, avid fan of creative learning context. D&D, if you sit somebody, if you make a big deal of it, I used to burn candles and they would be shipwrecked and I would bring in a skeleton from Halloween or something. And if you can organize a Dungeons and Dragons game for the kids in your neighborhood and you can show them what's possible, you will not believe what it does to their skills. One of the kids, my sons that I played this with, I later, some years later, I never even planned this, but I watched him negotiate splitting the loot in a World of Warcraft raid, and I could hear his ability to negotiate and talk through this highly conflicted situation, and I was going, oh my God, this kid learned how to negotiate conflict through Dungeons and Dragons. So we actually had a Dungeons and Dragons. We had 2 factions of elves in this party with these kids, right? And one of them were Sylvan elves. We were playing the campaign, the Dragonlance campaign, and there were 2 factions of elves. There's the Sylvan elves, and then there was the high elves, I guess, and then there's the wood elves. And so they were in the same campaign, and they role played conflict all the time. They role-played fighting with each other, and one time they killed a basilisk too quickly, and they found out that the basilisk was just protecting its kids. And if they had tried to empathize with the basilisk first, they might have found out it wasn't just a hack and slash. So basically, if you want the single best way to kind of sneak in life lessons without going to church or something, you can play Dungeons and Dragons and you can role play these situations with them ever knowing it. and they will. Oh, thanks for the sub. And they'll come to learn skills while they're playing these games that they had no idea that they're learning while they're doing it. Or give them a Linux terminal, right? Lots of things. There's lots of things you can do, but I'm just gonna say, if you seriously, I'm overstating this, but if you really want to have your children, like experience imagination, and problem solving, and reading, because there's a lot of reading involved. Give them some Dungeons and Dragons. Not take the computer away. You can leave the computer there for like dice rolling and rolling up characters and all those good things. But if you just like sit them around a table, I am so totally grateful that I had that growing up, because if you look at a lot of if you look at people that are more successful than me out there, like Colbert and them, a lot of them started out with these different ways of doing it, and it's going to be interesting because the people are learning a very different skill set who are doing gaming today and last 10 years. It's fantastic skill sets, by the way. I just think it's just at 3 years old, learning improv story time with kids. Yes. Oh, it's so much fun, isn't it? Like I just may you all have that. Anyway, so let's actually we got what, an hour or so left. I don't know if I'm going to cut it early tonight or today or not. I might talk right through my break though, just because I kind of feel like I just want to wrap up this week. We've had a fantastic week. What are my thoughts on Protonmail? We can talk about that. I'll give you a quick thoughts on Protonmail, and then I really want to search out some Linux occupations for you. That was one of the big things that I want to hit today that I did kind of miss. You can definitely do this research on your own, but I did want to kind of give you an overview of why you should learn Linux in terms of like, is there money in it? And that is a topic we should definitely talk about. So in terms of Protonmail, I love it. I recommend it to everyone. It is the only provider of email that I recommend myself. I have nothing to do with them. I am a visionary. I support them as much as I can. That's their highest level of committer. That's not me being egotistical. But Protonmail, just be aware it's not allowed in Russia. Tudanoa is another one in Germany. I tried that for a month or two. I think Protonmail just is more mainstream. That's why I use it. And I do really think that. Just do a week wrap up Q&A. Yeah, let's do that. So that's my thing with that. Let's see. Is more of an Armello person. Never got into GT. I don't know about that one. I have to look at that. SignOS macOS just made Z Shell the default shell. That's not just. They've had that on the docket for a year at least. They've been running a highly patched Bash 3 shell. Yes, this I'm very aware of. I was using Mac for a good 2 years, and I hated that it was using GPL3. You have to install it. That is, yes, and I actually wrote those very words. Salted. Good note there. We did cover that, but that's great. I've been a break for the past 30 minutes. I really have, and that's why I don't feel like I should go take another one. Game looks cute. Can you tell me the most secure setup in the world? It depends on what you're doing. FreeBSD. Make a FreeBSD system. All the routers in the world use FreeBSD. A social life, which is connected. I'm off to fix the error with my Rust that my friend found. Yes. Okay. Have a great day. Take care, Og. So, what are the jobs in Linux? If you have any questions, let me know. Before home routers were popular, I used the FreeBSD server to do NAT at home. Yeah, FreeBSD is really great. This is a Linux boost. It's not a FreeBSD boost. FreeBSD is a phenomenally awesome operating system that is Unix based. It has roots in Unix, but it is not Linux. Not by any stretch. And Darwin is based on FreeBSD, which is why your Linux, your Mac terminal is running Bash, but it's not running Linux. And so you'll notice some of the commands are very different. So this is also why if you're going to learn Linux. And another reason to learn Docker, you can actually run a Docker Bash shell on Mac and go through the beginner boost just fine, because all of the tools and everything will be Linux and not their version of it. You can also kind of emulate that by doing some stuff. Where you're going to look at Linux jobs, also recommendations of getting out of a bad programming job. Yes. So let's talk about careers for a second. Before I launch into this, I'm going to go straight through the break. and I'll work until what, until 2 o'clock. So let me just say this. I've said this before in terms of occupations, and I'm going to give my little how to stay afloat in the tech world spiel. I've done this a lot. Those of you who know me, you can go to RBX /occupations if you want to read along with what I'm doing right here. And yeah, Docker is getting people are defaulting to it instead of asking if it's the best tool. I completely agree. There's a little bit too much DevOps hype around Docker. Completely agree. However, it does have a lot of very valid usage. That's usually the way it works when it comes to tech. There's a new tech that comes out, takes over everything, gets saturated. People do it just cause, like WordPress. Like why would anybody want to make their website dependent on a database just to have static content? That's stupid. It's the epitome of like everybody thought databases were super cool for your websites, and so they just did it. Kind of like DevOps. Everybody thinks DevOps cool for everything, so they just do DevOps. They don't even ask why anymore. But you really do need to add the best tool for the job, and sometimes it's not going to be DevOps. Sometimes you're going to run a plain old, Linux server on hardware at your house or at your place of business, and that's going to be the best option. Not very rare much these days. It's usually in the cloud, but you should definitely consider all the options and not just do something because somebody told you to do it. And that goes for like doing all kinds of things. The problem with Linux is less apps. Yes, it's less apps and looks. Yes. Well, I mean, it depends on what you're using Linux for. I think that's kind of a statement about Linux on the desktop more than anything. I don't think anybody would debate Linux is the best server around right now. So here are the target occupations for the beginner boost, in case you're just wondering. So a couple of notes about this job thing. Sadly, the only part we're going to talk about system administration, Hikari, because the term system administration has fallen out of favor, and I actually started reading. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to come back to that. When we talk about the SRE title and how that relates to getting a job in Linux, I really want to talk about that. Okay, so the first thing I need to say when we talk about occupations, I need to give my generic spiel about how to get a job and what jobs are about and what Beginner Boost is going to get you in terms of getting a job, that kind of thing. So the first thing is to know that all employment is based on trust. All employment is based on trust, and you should think about job opportunities and learning based on that. No one's going to hire you unless they trust that you can do what they need. And you need to get the trust, you have to prove your trust. You can be trusted. That means you have got to, and everybody is, you guys are tired of hearing the spiel, but everybody values something differently. If it's the government, they value Security Plus certification. Everybody values something differently. They trust different things. So your job in getting a job, as you focus on getting a job or you're trying to change jobs, is to first of all identify the industry, and if you can, specifically 2 or 3 companies that you would like to work for. And that is usually not what people will advise you to do when you're looking for the job. They say just learn Node and it'll get you a job anywhere. No, I'm gonna flip that whole thing on its head and say you need to think about what you want to do every day, and specifically, where are some sample companies, top 3 sample companies you would like to work for. So for me, if I were to go back to work, the number 1 company I would want to work for right now is GitLab. I just think they're doing phenomenal things. They're 100% remote. They have a lot of other amazing things. Another one that I would really like to work for is InfluxDB. They are a company that I happen to know somebody who works there, and they are doing a lot of Go programming, and they are working on a Rust code base. And they do need some systems administration work. So I'm just giving you an example of how you should try to identify, maybe they aren't the companies you end up working for, but identify target companies that appeal to you, that have roles that interest you. And so today, one of the things I wanted to do is to kind of go around. I actually got this idea from Mastermind. The other day, on a Sunday, I was watching his stream, and he was out on Indeed searching for jobs in the DevOps and the SRE range. And it did occur to me that I knew I wanted to talk about target occupations today, so I wanted to mention him too. It's another great stream, by the way. Mastermind's a great streamer. BeginBot says, I made the switch to Mac to Linux in a weekend and was streaming and working on Monday. Wow, Linux is overall for how hard or how much tweaking is needed. Depends on what you're using. If you're using Arch versus Pop! OS versus Mint, but I agree with you that Mint is pretty easy to get started. So in terms of jobs, so know where you want to work and what you want to do, and that means you need to know what you like. And nobody likes being told you need to know thyself, right? But you really do. And I don't want to go into the weeds on that, into the metaphysical, but you can't do anything until you can establish trust. Okay, so let's assume that you want to work someplace that has Linux. Okay, you want to work, I don't care where, I just want to work in Linux and I want to have bash scripting ability. So then you can find those things out and say, well, what are the jobs that have those things? And you can start going to look for those. And now, then that kind of feeds into the next question, which is, what are the jobs are out there that involve Linux? And I've actually had to summarize these things before I jumped into this entire effort, because there's way too much technical information in the world to understand if you just want to say, I just want to work in tech. You know how many times I've had somebody come to me and say, I just want to work in tech. Or I've had people even say, I just want to make a lot of money. I really don't care how. I want it to be sort of in tech, and I heard there's a lot of money in tech, and I just want a lot of money. And frankly, if that's your goal, fine, own it and figure out how you're going to make money. But it's yeah. If you can say, I want to be an engineer, or I want to program. Now, by the way, you might think you want to be a programmer, but you may not actually know what it means to be a programmer. Okay. And somebody did ask the question about, I would actually encourage them to speak more in the chat here or in Discord about what it actually means to be a programmer. So many people love coding because they love coding for themselves. They like coding what they want to code. A large part of being a programmer is shutting up and maintaining somebody else's code. In fact, you really can't break into the business of programming without doing that. You unfortunately are doing very little problem solving. Most of your work as a programmer is to, fix problems that somebody else has left you, particularly if you're a beginner. You're just going to be doing testing and a bunch of stuff, and you're not really going to like it. Unless you're a real 10x programmer and can start your own company and make your own application that no one else has thought of, which is a great way to get started, by the way. 90% of work in the programming industry is not greenfield programming. So greenfield programming means that you are programming, you get to pick the technologies involved that are the best ones. Most programming jobs right now, honestly, are maintaining Java or Perl or C or in Python starting to become a thing. And so you're maintaining code that already exists if you're going to do that. And if you another thing that's tough about programming as a job is that you, a lot of times if you're working on a bigger project, they're more interested in how fast you can program than they are how good the program is. Perl is, there's a lot of bad Perl code out there, so it gets a really bad name. I coded in Perl for 5-6 years because you had to in the 90s. That was the language to know. But there's a lot of stuff out there you have to maintain. So my point is, if you're going to get into the programming business, particularly if you're getting into systems programming, you're going to be maintaining C code, you're going to be maintaining Perl code, you could be maintaining possibly even COBOL. I mean, there's a lot of code out there. So number one thing, don't just become a one-trick pony. You got to make sure you learn more than one coding language. And let's see, Carrie says, I did a short job as a programmer and got yelled at for security testing people's passwords against having been pwned to see if they had insecure passwords beyond the basic rule sets. Wow. And they yelled at you because they thought you maybe gave up their passwords to everybody. Yeah. Randall Schwartz was actually convicted of hacking by running a standard crack called Jack the Ripper on a system for Intel while he was hired to do something else. And he did it as a service for them and told them, you need to go have these people fix their passwords. And they opened a lawsuit and they won. So be careful, the kind of job you want to do and all that sort of thing. But when we're talking about Linux jobs, first of all, I have a feeling Linux is going to permeate even more of the industry. And I really believe that. That's why I think that these core job titles, these core occupations are so important. So security analyst, software developer. Security analyst, by the way, as you can see here, is the fastest growing tech career according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics of the United States government. It is the fastest growing career by far. It's growing 10% faster than the next closest job, which is software developer, which is 21% growth rate. And unrealistic expectations, yes. Web developer, so they don't even tell you what kind of web developer. I happen to think that means that you have to know back end as front end as well. 13%, that's the third fastest growing tech career. And then we have basically system administrator, which is listed as 5%. The title system administrator has a bunch of baggage that we need to unpack and talk about. And I'd like to do that next after we complete this list. And then we have these new, hot, sexy titles from Google called Site Reliability Engineer, which I'll get into. If you really want to understand my feelings, you can read my annotation on the book that I've been writing. It's not pretty, people. And then there's, embedded developers, IoT stuff. That stuff is like really, really exploding. The schooling column, this is what they say, Big Inba. I'm sorry. I'm just repeating what's been reported by one of the most reliable, survey sources of information out there. It is the American government, but it's still better than the LinkedIn survey, and it's better than the Stack Exchange surveys, because those are based on entirely non-scientific research. They're based on asking a bunch of people who choose to answer their questions what they think, and it is not scientific at all. So let's see. You're still in college. I still have 3 years to apply for a job, so there's that. I'm gonna challenge you on that, Lakshan. So if you are in college and you think you don't need to start applying for jobs right now, you will definitely be behind when it comes time to apply for a job. And I'm going to justify that statement. There are overwhelming statistics that state that people who work while they're in college are more successful. They're more successful in landing a job. They waste less money. They enter the job force more well prepared for the work. And so I'm going to, it's controversial, but it's backed by science. And I encourage you to go do some of your own research on this. You should be working, and that means making enough time in your college schedule to do this. My ex-wife actually was one of the people who thought that it was a bad idea, that people needed to be unburdened and undistracted so they could focus on their studies completely. And I suppose that's a debate we could have. But the other survey, research I've read, is that people who work during college are better prepared for work later, and they don't get. It's not like some magical thing is going to happen when you get. They're also preparing for work. So I've had people in college tell me over and over again, I wish somebody had told me these things in college, because they didn't prepare them to get ready for the workforce. There was no conversation about what jobs are even out there in this field. I was listening to another streamer the other day. Oh God, I can't remember his name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But he actually went so far as to call all college remedial preparation for the workforce. And that was his words, because it's really just prep work. And very rarely does a college degree directly relate to your career. There's obvious exceptions to that, obviously, like doctors and research scientists and people like that. But there's just so much stuff that you're not going to learn in college. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, if you're thinking that way, is to change your thinking and start thinking every day about, what is my career going to be? What do I enjoy doing? What is my job going to be? And how can I start to prepare my LinkedIn with projects that I'm doing right now that prove that I can be trusted to perform something for an employer? You should start thinking about that from the first day you go to college. I think you should think about it before that. And I've got 16-year-olds that are employed. An 18-year-old's got a full internship, and a 20-year-old who finished college, and now he's placed. And he's got a full year paid internship at another company. And every one of them had something in common. They all started preparing, I call it good to gig. good to gig. That's my take on this. You need to constantly keep yourself in a state that is good to gig. That means I've got a LinkedIn, I've got a website, I've got a GitLab. I know how to prove. I've got the things. I've got. If I'm an academic and I like to do those things, I've got a body of thought knowledge and thought work that is contained in my blog with my research experiments. You have overwhelming evidence of your ability to be trusted to work in what you like to do all the time. You are constantly good to gig. If you drop this because you're employed, I've seen this all over the time. It happened to me, actually. That's why I started SkillStack. I started SkillStack after doing a job interview that was so embarrassing because I couldn't remember how to parse JSON with JavaScript. I kid you not. Because I had been so deep into the C and into a bunch of other, digging out memory leaks and all this other stuff. I've told this story on the stream before. It's pretty hilarious, actually. And this 20-something goes, do you think there's a simpler way? I wrote a Perl parser. I wrote a very elaborate Perl parser to parse JSON to pass that part. He goes, do you think there's a simpler way? And he said JSON.parse. And, and I knew, I even said it was JSON.parse, but I didn't remember the actual syntax and hadn't done the minimal study to keep up on that. And this happens to everybody who is in the workforce. And I guarantee you, if you don't keep your skills sharp on the things you want to do and your career starts happening to you, there's a problem. Take control of your career, learn the skill, even if they say they're not going to give you time. Steal the time, because it's not stealing. If you're doing it on an employer, you're keeping your skills fresh. Okay, and then you can go to the next level, and you can be ready for those other career possibilities out there. And if all of that involves Linux, which I think it will, then these are the main careers. These are the main careers in technology that are growing the fastest. There's lots of other careers that involve Linux, but these are the primary ones. And definitely add mathematician to your resume. Oh my gosh, mathematician, they're like making bank. PHP mathematicians right now are making bank. They are, because they're getting pulled out for machine learning and stuff. Now you'll notice here in my list that there's no machine learning. And the reason for that is mostly just because I truly believe machine learning is that kind of thing is 100% college. I mean, if you truly want to go into machine learning all the time, all day, I just think that the amount of knowledge is, it's really fun to watch all these like Rails boot camps try to pivot and teach data science. It's kind of funny. They're like, we don't just have to learn Rails and a bunch of Ruby syntax to get our bootcamp done. You mean we actually have to hire like advanced statisticians and mathematicians to teach us? What do you mean we can't learn this in 16 weeks? It's like I would really, really love to be a fly on the wall of some of these, like, the lower end like boot camps that kind of died on the vine. When they were trying to pivot because data science became the cool hot thing to do. It's like, we could pivot. We could do data science. Yes, let's do data science. Wait, that requires calculus. Crap. It's like, I would just love to. I'm in machine learning and I agree, although there are lots of skills like Linux, Git, Docker. I wish I had better support from AML research. Well, I'm really glad you mentioned that. And so it's fair to say that these things, in fact, I even think I said so, down here below, so these skills support, machine learning, but they are not required to get into a machine learning career. And I think that you're kind of confirming that. Machine learning is hard, very hard. I have a machine learning basic one bot on Discord, that learns how to construct coherent sentences, and I made it for entertainment. Nice. That's cool. And I believe me, I want to do this. I was big into calculus math all the way up to the 300 level in college. And there's just too much to learn. Too much to learn, people. Too much to learn. I just found out about Docker commit 2 days ago. And now I'm going to learn all of machine learning. There's just too much. So you got to focus. And so if that focus, it does involve Linux and you want a specific career where you're just doing Linux bash scripts all day, every day, these are some great careers. So system administration, particularly in site reliability. So it was probably an appropriate time for us to kind of, data science. I knew you were going to say that. People hate the term data science. And I actually put it in quotes. But people who actually are in the industry hate that term. Just like people who are in the industry hate full stack developer. Let's see. You will be an older man before you get done. I know, but you know what? Why not? I can still learn it, right? There's more to learn. I think life is for learning. So let's see. Median salary. Look at this, man. The people who came out with like computer information research scientists, the median salary for a computer information research scientist is $122,000. Median. Mastermind was telling me, not me, but everybody on the stream, that that most of the careers in DevOps are six-figure. Almost all of them. The starting DevOps jobs are six-figure. So those are all jobs that are in. It says here they're not growing as fast, and I don't know what I think about that. I think they might. What's bad about cybersecurity? I don't think there's anything bad about it if you can do it. The one thing about cybersecurity I will caution people on is that most of the stuff that's involving cybersecurity it involves like a breadth of knowledge in addition to like deep knowledge in how computers work. For the good jobs. I mean, if you're just doing like basic bug bounty hunting, you don't even know how to code, and that's been very popularized by YouTubers out there who, yell how much money they've made without doing any coding. Logistic problems encounter into the ML solution. Cybersecurity is more focused on lots of background knowledge. Yeah. And although, so I happen to know this because I spent a good month and a half, Zeros will confirm this, trying to get into the cybersecurity OSCP kind of thing, only to conclude that there are many, many aspects of cybersecurity, all the way from managerial, just only work, information security, to forensics engineering and security engineering, which is more about writing code that does it and looking for 0 days. And then, of course, there's the extremely unsexy but highly paying bug bounty stuff, which is the focus of all the capture the flag kinds of things. And Zeros and I kind of, a bunch of us went down the path where OSCP was the only thing to do. And while I'm still really intrigued by pen testing and I love it, as soon as I realized that I had to fully understand how to write PowerShell and hack Windows machines with Active Directory, I was gone. So I was like, I would rather learn machine learning than how to hack a crappy Windows machine. Yeah, the natural enemy of coders at my company. Yeah, it's like, so that actually killed my interest in traditional pen testing. The stuff that I've been hearing about. Cyber is just a bullshit term. It just means computer. Oh, well, if you're talking about, I thought you meant maybe the word cyber. Cyber security. Mediocrity. So yeah, anyway, how's it going, Ryan? So lots of good stuff here. Anyway, we're talking about terminology, but let me get back to some careers that I actually did want to look at, and I will post a link to a book that I've been reviewing called SRE Google. And so let me just make sure the link works. But I have been, so far, I'm trying to keep my mind open, but so far I hate this book. I'm just gonna say, I mean, it is so full. Oops, that's not it. It's SRE Google. I got it backwards. S/SRE Google. So this is so far my review of this book. The reason I started reading it is I'm seriously trying to get my head around what is the difference between SRE and DevOps. And I did get that out of it. But it cost me a little bit of my sanity because I really was not a fan of some of the writing. And it's not just because the writing was bad. Writing's pretty good, actually. It was just the whole Silicon Valley speak. It's hard for me to put my finger on. It's basically like watching a version of Silicon Valley from HBO. You guys ever see that? Yeah. And it was like, yeah. So I'm reading this book, and it's Google's book that everyone is I mean, seriously, it's like the amount of praise is like. So Google came up with a title called Google. This is basically my summation of this whole SRE thing. So the site reliability engineer is basically Google's fancy, innovative term for good system administrators. In other words, system administrators who have been automating and scripting and providing monitoring. If you're a good system administrator, you should have been doing that your whole life. And I did. In fact, I did it for IBM for years. I, wrote lots of innovative code for them, not just me, but a bunch of people on my team. Along comes Google and makes a book about it, gives it a title, and everybody in the world changes to use this stupid title, which isn't even accurate of their own admission. And unfortunately, you have to use that title. So I'm going to help you guys understand. If you're going to look for jobs that are involving Linux system administration, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to look for a job that has DevOps in the title or SRE in the title because of these bozos. They've decided to change the term. And so what they're basically trying to say is you have got to say, so here, I finally got my head around this term. So despite the non-event of Google's title, SRE has taken over the industry, making system administrator considered less than an SRE, even though Google's title makes absolutely no sense in the industry. It's sad but true. The annotations show this. So, okay, so here we go. Here's the forward. The Ganesh Guilfoyle, oh yeah, that made me happy. Except for that part, I can't say that on stream. So, Guilfoyle is awesome. So Google grew at a time in the traditional. So this is true. So they make a stand in here. So let me just back up. The term site reliability engineer. So if you're a system administrator like I was for years, senior sysadmin, that title doesn't exist anymore. If somebody posts senior system administrator right now, they're almost like old school. It got branded bad. You know who did it? Google. I blame them. They're like ruining our world. So it's like, Google grew at a time when traditional role of system administrator was being transformed. Okay. No shit, but okay. And it says, it is very true that blah, blah, blah. And then it referred to wizard culture and how wizard culture was bad. And this is when, BOFH, Master Operator from Hell came a thing. There was a divide between the people who kept the systems up and the people who also, had the applications. Can you please run my application? Please. I don't know. Is your application going to break my system? And that's the Dinesh Guilfoyle dynamic, if you know what I'm talking about. And that's why I brought it up. So the Dinesh Guilfoyle dynamic is a perfect encapsulation of why something had to be done. And that something has taken many names. In one sense, it's DevOps, developers and operators, operations coming together. And actually, I came to understand from here that according to Google's chief technology officer, they consider SRE to be a graduated level above a DevOps engineer, who is a DevOps engineer who deals with services. And the S used to mean site, and now it means services magically. It's like, just don't even get me started. If you want to read it, you can read my annotation. I gave you the link. It's like, Google experience was unique. And I'm like, sure it was, but so was everyone else's. Google's wasn't particularly better, just more coverage and attention. Tribal nature of IT culture. Dogma is deaf. Okay, I agree with that. These articles are not rigorous academic pieces. They are personal accounts. In other words, a bunch of stuff that could have just as well been blogged instead of stuffed into a $40 book. The most impressive thing about this book is its very existence. The guy who wrote the foreword actually wrote that in the book. And if there is no more circle jerking, stroking your ego in Silicon Valley writing, you won't find it more prevalent than in this book. Okay. So it says here, I laugh at, it's like, and it says here, the most is, and so that level of unchecked hubris needs to be punished as much as possible. Seriously, Mark, you are so completely off base assuming that a culture of ask no questions has arisen when all you have to do is do a bit of basic research to realize the culture completely changed. And if anything, overshares their insights, but this is completely unfounded. The point is, he thinks that the very existence of Google saying, hey, look what we did. We gave up our corporate secrets that were happening in the shadows. Look at how awesome we are. And I'm like, that was an act of generosity on the part of Google. I just want to just shoot the book in the head because the book is so bad. It's just, but we do get to understand where this horrible term came from, and that is the only reason you need to know about this. Okay, so bowing to the cult of Google is really putting the industry and our world in jeopardy. Putting Google on a false god's pedestal is seriously hurting our industry. Smaller innovations from companies motivated by far more than a 90% ad revenue income are way more compelling. Maybe that's why Harvard Business Review is focused on GitLab and not the lumbering, acid-tripping unicorns like Google. Don't work for Google, please, people. I'm going to make one personal request. Take your skills anywhere but Google. I don't care where you go anywhere but that horrible company. You're talking about a boomer company. This company exhibits all of the principles and values. Amazon, I might be tempted to go to Amazon. Are you already there? Not getting a Google sponsorship. Why would I? I would never want a Google sponsorship. Google is a disaster of a company, and it is hurting our world. I'm just, I don't care what they think. Somebody needs to call it out. But they left my city. Okay. So look, are there good people who work for Google? Hell yeah, there are. And you know what? A lot of them are leaving the company because the company has lost a lot of things. So anyway, this is the last thing the author lists implying. Okay, let's say, and sometimes la la la. So here's some takeaways, and this is what I want you to take out of this, especially if you're probably if you want the most exposure to Linux, there's a good chance you're going to want to look for a job that might have SRE or DevOps in the title, which is why I'm going into so much detail about this. So anyway, look, and by the way, if you guys disagree with me, I welcome disagreement. I feel obviously very passionate about this, but I don't feel so passionate that I would dislike you if you disagreed with me on this issue. And I know there's great people at Google, but I just feel like we have so many other things in the world that we can prioritize except for ad revenue. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people at Google have agreed. Okay, what are we talking about? So anyway, so here we go. So here's the takeaway. So I think my wife and I talk about this all the time. We think advertising is the root of all evil because it forces people to do things that are causing them to. I don't know what the answer is, people. I'm not trying to change society in one stream, but I think too many people are doing things for that stuff. So SREs are engineers. First and foremost, SREs are engineers. In fact, when they hire, so this is the thing that Google talks about in the book. Google hires software engineers. So 50% of their SRE team is software engineers, and 50% are software engineers with extra skills. It's just really ironic too, because it's basically like they just reinvented the NOC and the SOC. The Network Operations Center and the Software Operations Center, and they just put them into one group and called it the Site Reliability Engineering. So that's what they did. Thanks for the subs. So here you go. You have Site Reliability Engineers, which are SREs, which are software engineers. And so it's not. So here's the TLDR: SREs are system administrators who code. That's it. That's really it. There are systems engineers. There are systems administrators who code, and they are focused on services. That means keeping something up, but that's pretty much every system administrator. And by the way, I was a system administrator my whole life, and the reason I am going to talk about this. So let me take a pause, take a drink of coffee. I'm going to tell you why I think that you should always have been this thing. This is why, to me, this wasn't a newsflash. Here's how you keep your job. Okay? Here's how you keep your job. Or get a job. Based on everything I just told you about the SREs, don't leave. There's two things required to be an SRE. Coder skills and operation skills, Linux skills, that kind of thing. You have to know how to code in more than just one language. And you have to know how to do systems operations. That includes knowing how to make a Docker container, I'm afraid, which it's not included in the list here, but we need to do that. When the economy is good, where does all the money go? Where does all the money go when the economy is good in an organization? When the economy is good and booming, and you work for a big corporation, it goes into technology, and it goes specifically into new things. It goes into applications development and marketing, right? When the economy is good, the way that they want to, the big companies, they have money, and their number one priority is beating the competition. So they put money into development, product development, marketing, advertising, new products, R&D. That's where all the money goes. And you'll learn this real quick if you've been around for a while. In the tech industry, there's a huge cycle. So when the tech economy, it's really important that it's the tech economy, not the general economy. When the tech economy is really, really booming, and we've had some people will say we're coming out of a bubble, that the COVID just finally burst the tech bubble from 2020. There was a massive bubble in 2000 that some of us remember living through, and it was disastrous. And I survived it because of one thing. I switched from development to operations. So when the tech bubble bursts and the tech economy goes into the toilet, where does all the money go? Where does all the money go? It goes to maintaining what they have. Nope. So when an economy's bad, they actually fire the software developers. They get rid of all the new projects. They take all that money and they dump it into, CEO umbrellas, and then they dump it into maintaining what they have, keeping everything working, repairing what they have, making sure it doesn't go down. And where is that? That's operations. That's Linux, that's system administrations, that's keeping the lights on. So they'll and by the way, so if you actually did this completely by accident, I kid you not, I did not plan this, okay? So I started my career as a software developer and web stuff, but I also was really interested in Linux and system administration the whole time. So I was kind of developing both at the same time. I got hired at the height of developer craziness, and IBM actually doubled my salary from Nike in order for me to come code Java for them. Now, at the time, it wasn't a very big salary. I won't tell you what it was, but it wasn't that big. And they doubled my salary. I never wrote a line of code for Java for them. Because why? Because while I was there, this actually happened my first 2 months at IBM. While I was in training on an $80 per diem in New York for 30 days, living the life as a new Java developer, beginning trained in how to be an IBMer. During that time, the entire thing collapsed. The project I had been hired to do for the finance department went away, and I was on the bench. I was on the bench at IBM. And that means that you're just all by yourself and you have to find your way around. And thank God I had systems administration skills. So I frantically learned the whole IBM job searching technology, which was all COBOL and mainframe. And I found it, and I said, okay, I got to do this. So I called it Ross, God bless him. I mean, one of my favorite managers of all time. And I called him up. I went into interview. I said, look, I was hired as a Java developer. Haven't coded a line of Java for IBM. And to this day, have never coded any Java for them, even though they doubled my salary just to work there, to code Java for the finance department. I was young. I had young kids. The money was more important. And so, anyway, so I had this going on, and I had this interview with this guy, and he took a chance on me, and he said, you know, I'm going to take a chance on you. And they needed a system administrator real bad, but I had never been an official system administrator. I had been building systems in my garage. I had, started my own Linux domain just for fun. While I was at Nike, I learned from before that, another internet service provider, I learned from all these graybeards about how to use Solaris and Linux, and I loved it. And so I learned about all the operation stuff on the side, but was never paid for it. So this is the moral of the story. If you keep your operation skills up, and you keep your coding skills up, you can go forward safely knowing that you can retool quickly if you need to. You will never be the best coder while you're a system administrator because you need to focus on it to keep it fresh in your brain. But if you have experience having done both, and if your side projects are related to coding, then you will survive no matter what. So that means, and frankly, that is exactly what Google is telling you here. Google is telling you that if you want a job with them, which I'm saying don't do, but if you did, they want software engineers who can code. They want it all. And if you can do that, you can survive no matter where you go in tech. So if you truly want to be a 10x technologist, you need to have 2 or 3 coding languages under your belt. And in the beginner boost, we're starting you out with 4. And then after that, you need to also be able to do operational kinds of things. That means you know what Docker containers are. That means that you know how to keep your system from crashing when you accidentally break your Pop! OS install. It means you know how to use the terminal. Oh my God, if you don't know how to use the terminal, you can't call yourself a system administrator at all. So, or let alone a DevOps person or an SI or SRE person. So enough of this. Yeah, 10x. I mean, you can be a 10x engineer. It's just going to start slowly. But this is why I have so much coding, particularly the C coding in this beginner boost, because the C coding is what's going to make you understand how computers and languages work at a way that applies both to operations. We're running out of memory. What's up with your pointer? You must have a memory link in your software. How can you be a system administrator who helps keep an applications developer in check if you don't know what a memory leak is? If you don't know how they're caused, if you don't even know what memory is. I mean, you can't. So understanding C, even if you don't want to code in it very much, is a way to go about that. Yeah, carry a Linux USB. So SREs are focused on site reliability. They're also focused on services. So this is a big takeaway. The site in our name referred. This is their words. This is Google's words. Actually, what's his face's words? The site in our name originally referred to SRE's role in keeping Google.com website running, though we now run many more services. And then this is me raging. Then change the stupid title. How this broken title became the industry standard is absolutely beyond rational thinking. Why not change the S to services instead of site, since they are different? And I think some people have actually changed the S to services now instead of site. Because, I mean, if you're a system administrator, I'm keeping websites up, but I have much bigger responsibilities than that. Let's see, we are distinct. Here it goes. So here's the explanation of how SRE is different from DevOps, and this is super important. If you want to sound intelligent while you're talking about the occupations that involve Linux, you need to understand this stuff. That's why I'm talking about it. So this is them saying this in the book. We are distinct from the industry term DevOps because although we definitely regard infrastructure as code, we have reliability as our main focus. And yeah, I'm having a little bit of a no shit moment. I mean, if you're not, then what are you doing in operations? So all those postings that have both DevOps and SRE are covering 2 titles instead of 1. Nice. And I saw those in Mastermind stream. There was multiple titles that had DevOps and our SRE in the same HR written, see, okay. So, we actually, it's funny. I'm totally with you on the whole algorithms thing. And then I actually gave in. Where is it? Where's my book? And we're actually going to do a boost that's mastering data structures and algorithms in C, just cause. And because I do think it's a little bit. I mean, that whole hiring process is just bork in my mind, but I want to not talk about that right now. So let's see. But just know that SRE and DevOps get posted a lot in the same time. Ultimately, more reliability-oriented software and systems engineering is inherently good. That's what they say. So, yeah. I mean, why does this have to be written? Obviously, why waste that sentence? There probably already is someone in your organization who is doing SRE work without it necessarily being called by that name. You think? I mean, yeah, they wrote this book at a time when this was happening. IBM actually made IBM actually made an entire virtual server application for global services, and I was on that team during all of this SRE, innovation, and it was happening all over the place. It reminds me about how I got my ISP system administrator phone number because I managed to find out why their network was dropping 30% of all the packets countrywide. He is a good contact if they ever need another person there. But more importantly, I got a hotline I can call if one of their hop servers starts all over. Yeah. It's a long conversation. Test. Oh, the way people use math to test if you're smart. Yeah. Why don't you test it, how well they do the job? I mean, this is one of the biggest complaints I have about the whole interview process. But okay, so here we go. And then they started Margaret Hamilton as their champion software site reliability engineer. And if you don't know who Margaret Hamilton is, you need to know right now. So this is a little history lesson. So Margaret Hamilton is the person who invented the term software engineering. And she worked at NASA, and she's a phenomenal engineer, phenomenal programmer. This isn't anything about gender. She was really great. And she actually angered the engineers because she said, you know what I do matters. I'm not just a software developer. I am an engineer. And from that day, she's credited as being the one who invented the term software engineer at NASA. And she's frequently touted out as an example of somebody showing how software is a true engineering field, to the great chagrin of engineers who have been engineers since the dawn of time, like civil engineers and mechanical engineers and chemical engineers. And they have very little patience if you talk to them about software all of a sudden calling itself an engineer. I'm mixed in my opinions on that. I do think software developer doesn't quite cover it fully. Software engineer. In fact, the software engineer term was the subject of some controversy when somebody asked about whether you needed a certificate to become a software engineer on a Quora question. And you guys were talking about Crack the Interview. Gail, who wrote that book, responded and said, don't list software certifications if you're going to be a software engineer. And somebody from Microsoft disagreed politely and said, well, no, you need that. But the miscommunication was over the term software engineer. They're like, well, one of them, the Microsoft guy, said engineer means engineer. That means they're doing things besides writing code. They're doing other things. It goes, no, not actually. They're just writing Java code. And so they actually agreed that the problem was the term software engineer, which illustrates my point. That what does that even mean? Are you engineering software? So it's, people, this is the other problem we have in industry is people tend to make titles that are more broad because they want to capture any possible role that is needed in there. That's why you get things like full stack engineer. What is that? Guilfoyle is a full stack engineer. In fact, he's the only example of a full stack engineer I would ever dare associate with that title. He can do everything. I mean, everything. Yeah. So anyway, so just know this about this term software engineer when you're searching for jobs, that you'll find that in particularly senior software engineer. That's what you're going to find. But it kind of triggered me because the author, the one who formulated the first SRE team, used Margaret Hamilton as an example of the world's first site reliability engineer. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that? Because that's what the fuck I do. I love that scene. It is the best scene of all time. Go see it, guys. Go search for that Guilfoyle scene. But anyway, so software engineer, Margaret Hamilton is famous for inventing the term software engineer. And here we have the authors of the SRB book at Google saying, no, she actually was a site reliability engineer. She wasn't a software engineer at all. She was a site reliability engineer. She's the first one, actually. And I'm like, well, which is it? Was she a software engineer or was she a site reliability? Well, she was a site reliability engineer because, as we've just explained, our SREs are software engineers. And so it gets like splitting hairs about these stupid titles. It's like, what do you actually do? And I really hope that our whole industry changes and starts to focus on roles. And there are some business models that are doing that now, that are up and, I mean, they're getting built really ripped on because they suck. Sometimes they're not done very well. But I see a lot of DevOps positions. Yes, because DevOps was supposed to be a culture, not a position. Well, and there's another term. Let's talk about DevOps. Okay, let's definitely talk about DevOps, because we are talking about occupations that have Linux with them. And DevOps, hands down, DevOps and SRE and system administration are the most Linuxy of the jobs. Or full stack web developer, in that sense too, because they're also doing, command line Linux stuff. But DevOps for sure. What is DevOps? Depends on who you ask. If you ask a manager, DevOps is the association between developers and operations. It's the whole, umbrella of that relationship. If you ask an engineer, an operations engineer, or a system administrator, what's DevOps, they'll say it's Docker and Kubernetes, because those are the implementations of the technology today that are the most prevalent for delivering on this vision of continuous integration, continuous delivery. So, what I'm saying? Yeah. So, it's important that you know who you're talking to when you say DevOps, because DevOps means something completely different. They have DevOps conferences for pointy-haired bosses and managers to talk about how they can kumbaya, smooth the relationships between developers and operations. And by the way, how they can remove operations entirely by automating them all away. And that's continuous integration CI/CD. Is that if they had their way, they'd get rid of the bastard operator from hell entirely and say, there's no such thing anymore. We don't want these barriers to our operation. We just want people. So, and actually he says this in here. He says, here's the other guy, the CTO, and from Google. SRE is what happens when you ask a software engineer to design an operations team, which is pretty much every software engineer's dream. You want me to invent a team that doesn't involve all of the system administrators who told me to go to hell every time I tried to run crappy software? You want me to invent an alternative to that? That's what they did. So you know what their first criteria was? You have to know how to code. Surprise! It's like, if you ask a software engineer who only values writing code in applications what kind of operations team they're going to make, what's the first requirement going to be? Well, you're nothing if you can't code. So it's like, so why would you? I just think that's funny. I just do. I think it's funny. If they had their way, there would never be people who did anything but code. You can't even call yourselves a technologist until you code. Now, let's be real. DevOps has single-handedly killed all graybeards. It really has, and that's not an exaggeration. Good evening. How's it going? Sounds like the job I had, right? So this is look, we're talking about jobs in Linux, and let me just tell you this. If you approach getting a Linux system administrator job the way that we did in the 90s, you will fail, because the culture, unless you happen to find an old company who even lists system administrator as a title and is okay with the old way of doing it, where somebody just concerned themselves with backups and swapping hard drives and keeping systems running without that much coding, but enough coding to keep, automation and everything. If there are places out there like that, but they are no longer hip, nor are they popular, nor are they culturally acceptable. So if you want a job doing this stuff, you have to know how to code, and not just in Bash. I mean, you've got to know more. You got to prove that you're a software engineer. So if you were going to get this job at Google, you can't even get on the SRE team, which is their operations team, without first being a software engineer, which means what? That means you have to pass that stupid interview about with all the data structures and algorithms to become a sysadmin, which just drives me crazy, but that's just the way it is today. Okay. So that's just the way it is. You got to know that stuff. And if you don't know that software engineering stuff, they're not even going to look at you for automating their backups. which is just stupid. I know it's stupid. It drives me crazy. But unless you can find a company that understands that, and maybe there are some out there, and we are a community, we can help each other, because I'm sure there are companies that get this, and I'm going to cross my fingers. I actually think, yeah, Bash, Python, Perl, C++, or C. I completely agree, Hikari. If you don't know that, just forget about applying for an SRE job. Just forget it. I mean, yeah, I've been system admin for years, but can't code worth shit, but doesn't mean I couldn't do the job. And see, and you know what, Lakshan, you are part of the old guard, and I don't mean that in any disrespect at all. I mean, I'm kind of one of those persons too. Perl's a child's devil. Perl, it depends on how you use it. Perl is actually much more effective than Python on a single line command. Python is a ridiculously bad choice for that. So my point I'm trying to make here is that there are people who are still in these positions, but the companies that have those positions are either behind, or they are, they're going to need to change, or they're going to die. And I don't know if this new, like real intense emphasis on the SRE position is going to persist in the industry, but it is definitely there now. So you just have to know about it when you get into it. So anyway, I mean, it's no secret. The TLDR of this is learn to code. Learn Linux, learn systems operations, learn Docker, learn to code. In like 2 or 3, 4 languages like Hikari is mentioning. And those languages really differ depending on what you're doing. The reason that you guys saw me pick the languages that I have is very, very specific. So yeah. So I'm going to go into the README, and then I'm going to show you the schedule. The reason that I picked these languages, and they are not the kind of languages you would see in most boot camps or something like that. But there's a very specific reason I picked these languages, because they are the most ubiquitous and they have the most cross application. So they are the languages of an SRE. And I believe obviously the first language after Go you should learn is Python if you're going to go for the SRE position. I do think it's a secondary language though, and people disagree with me on that, but that's fine. I think Bash is more important than Python, and then I think Python for automation and stuff like that is definitely your first learning after. But Go, the reason I think C and Go are important is because those translate into software development positions, software engineering positions as well. Python is a software engineering language, but it's not as robust of a software engineering language. So it was a tough decision to go with Go or Python there. But I believe Go is going to continue to displace systems. And Go was specifically written for SRE applications at Google. That is why it exists. It was written to fit that special place where it can do the same thing that Python, Java, and C++ do. And so that's why I think that language is so important. Do I think you need to learn Python? Yes. Can I fit it into a 16-week? No. Do you need to know Python to be a web developer? I think the answer to that is no. Even a full stack web developer, I do not believe Python is a mandatory requirement. It's certainly going to help you, but I don't think it's a requirement. Nim will be running the show. I was actually watching a thing on Nim the other day, and it's a super intriguing language. Do I think it's going to get big adoption? No, I don't. I really don't. I don't think it's. I think it's too weird. Bottom line, I just think it's too weird, and it violates too many things that pointy-haired people that make decisions about what language wins don't like. Unfortunately, and I don't want this to degrade into a language war. That's not what this is. That's not what's meant here. It's a super fascinating language, though. I'm super fascinated by Nim. If you guys haven't, there's a couple of streamers out here who stream about Nim. I don't forget their name. I've angered the Django gods, yeah, and the PHP gods, right? So, basically, hopefully this is common to all applications. So let's say if you wanted to go into full stack web development, what's the first language you have to learn after this? PHP. Okay, you have to learn PHP if you want to do full stack. Because why? Because you're going to be maintaining somebody else's PHP. HTML is here already, but if you're going to be maintaining, I know you're going to be maintaining a PHP code base 9 times out of 10, or a Drupal code base. You have to learn PHP. You just do. I'm not, look, I don't know enough about PHP to know anything new that it's done that's impressive. All I know is that I have so much overwhelming experience with bad PHP destroying my systems because of horrible memory leaks that I will never go back to it ever for anything. But the point I'm trying to make is that languages are specific. Some of the languages that are more specific to a given role, I think if you're not doing Python as an SRE, I think that would be a huge mistake because so much automation is dependent on Python. Ramingo would be saying yes to that if you were here. I love Haskell. I don't think Haskell, Pandoc is written in Haskell. It's my favorite application for knowledge management, and I love it. Haskell is a really fascinating language. It is sort of hard to understand if you're coming from other things. Ancient. I know, and I use Apache Perl all the time than PHP. I completely agree. I think PHP, by the way, people look, I'm not going to rag on it. PHP was never meant to be a programming language. PHP was intended to be a template language that grew out of control with no management and no guidance, and that's exactly what you got. You got exactly what you could expect. Okay, so my point is, if you want to be full stack, you should invest in learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And yeah, so the first thing you should learn after you leave the boost, if you want to be a web developer, is a framework. I completely agree. And my framework of choice is Vue. But if you want to be taken seriously in the web development world, you pretty much have to know React and Vue and possibly, a PHP framework as well, because you're going to be dealing with, you got to be expected to work all over the place. Do I like React? No. Do I like PHP? No. But Angular is popular. So these are jobs. The question I have here that kind of lingers over me is how much Linux is in full stack web development? What do you guys think? How much Linux is actually, because it's definitely not in front end web development. You think 100%? Yep, just deployment. So, I mean, yeah, you're missing back in the JavaScript is not suitable for, 20%, 30%. Okay. So I'm glad you're at least giving it something. Web development, again, these are the target occupations. So web development was one of the tough ones for me because, I was a web developer and then I ended up doing a lot of system administration. But again, I was writing CGI scripts in Perl on a Linux machine. So, there was a lot more in the 90s. There was a lot more Linux related to the target occupation for a web developer. A lot more. But then again, our webmaster called herself a web mistress. Yeah, I was the CGI guy for Teleport for years. That was my thing. That was literally my title, CGI guy. And all I did is code Perl all day, every day, so, and automate things. I wrote, set UID so you could. I had an application, server-side application, so you could fill in forms and have your own web page for the internet service provider that I was working for in Teleport Internet Services in Portland, Oregon. Woohoo! So web runs on Linux. Yeah. So, but is it required as a web developer? Now, I don't think anybody would disagree that a front-end web developer does not need Linux. In fact, I've read, I think it was Egghead. Is that it? Newegg or Egghead? One of the two. It was like one of those educational sites, and they said, "Finally learn the terminal." And I was like, "Wait, this entire presentation is based on the assumption you can have a full career as a web developer and not know the command line." And I was like, "This is fascinating." Because that's not the world I came from. I mean, if you wanted to be, a web developer, you kind of had to know the back line, the command line. And I'm like thinking, how is anybody doing any command? I mean, not to mention you can't run preview. You guys been seeing me run preview here, right? So here's a cool thing. So I can run, this is just a tool called Browser Sync, and you can do preview and just run it, and it will, I got to turn sorry for the burning out eyes. So this is so cool because this will help you preview your sites running on localhost. And if I change anything, it will show it in real time. And so that's a standard tool for web development. But if you don't know the command line, you can't use it. So this is my confusion with seeing educational material and, job postings and things like that that have web developers. NodeMon's a good one too, but that's not it. It's uses called browser sync. Yeah, if you want to go look at it, it's browser sync.js, I think. Yeah, browser. If you search for browser sync, it's super cool. It actually will synchronize form edits across multiple devices, and it does CSS injection to change any CSS changes on the fly on all devices. It's so cool. It'll even scroll if you're on your iPad or your phone. So I have a video of me like doing all three at the same time. I have a phone, and then it's in my Instagram. So where is it? I mean, I was just doing some stupid thing. I don't even know if I have. I don't know. And I haven't gone on Instagram very much. But this is old. Instagram. I don't even know. I'm just shooting the breeze at this point. But I have a video of me doing it. There. Oh, there's our network class. And this is us doing lightsaber camp. This is an old thing. Backend development is great. Oh, hey, there's when they decided to change our roof in the middle of camp. Had grandmas climbing. There's our van. There's our old van. Yay, van. What am I doing? Oh, here it is. This is what I wanted you to see. So, why do I have to have Instagram to see it play? Are you kidding me? Wait, play. I don't want to look. You know what? I think it's not letting me see it. Why do I have to log in just to see it play? That's so dumb. I don't like that. You get the idea anyway. So just open a new tab, you think? Open a link in a new tab. I should probably be able to hack this, but I'm not focused. Open a link in a new tab. Shell check? I don't know about that. Oh, wow. Here we go. Please play. Oh, there we go. All right, full screen. There you go. Check it out. Is that crazy? This one's a little bit small, but isn't that neat? That is just so cool. It's like, so you can have all your devices up, and yes, that's VS Code, in case you're wondering. No, it's not. Oh yeah, I'm using Tmux there. I've got a split window, but see down here, this is where I'm running my preview, and then up here I'm like doing my coding. So you can like mess with your CSS in real time. It's so cool. So yeah, if you want a link to that here, I'll send you a link if you want. I don't know why you would want that, but and there's my old place. There's my old place. Oh, can I? It's Friday, right? Oh, I miss it. I won't lie. There's a big part of me that misses this. This is my old townhome where we used to live, and yep, that's actually Ben. Ben's teaching right there. My son Ben, and our paddle boards and our little place where we taught coding. May you all have such a similar experience, and we also played games, obviously. There we go. Oh, there's the t-shirts. Yours for the low price of $3 plus shipping. I have 2,000 of them left over. I'm really degrading here. There's Sam. That's our dog. She's really young. What am I doing? Oh, he's playing super hot. This was game night. This was a game night for sure. You guys ever play the super hot? You know what super hot is, right? Oh, that kid's got an internship now. Holy cow. I wasn't planning on doing this. Hey, Lo-Fi Girl. Yep. Hacking. And it was a game night. This was definitely game night. Yep. There we go. Playing super hot. I miss it. Do you know what? I really miss game night. I miss it. Can't do it anymore because COVID. Thank you for this stroll down memory lane. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Super hot. Your ship would be $30. If everyone goes, I mean, just get my money back. That's all. Screen in the back is playing lo-fi hip hop 24-hour stream. You bet it is. Friday night was game night. Is your game night? We would, and it is Friday night. So seriously, we would have game night. I still have 6 workstations, gamer stations downstairs in my front room, but this whole COVID thing, it just knocked us out. Yeah, the whole doomer looking at the photo album. I love that you use the word doomer. Thank you. I'm crying in India. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I wish my parents enrolled me in something like that when I was young. You know, I get that a lot, which is why I did it. Which is, we should totally do game night. Now, I'm going to do game night too here. Actually, we did the other night. I started up a Minecraft server. Actually, we did a Minecraft server on day 2. Guys, if you want to go back, since we're doing weekend review, if you want to go back and see, we made a Minecraft server using the paper Minecraft engine on day 2, and we built it into the cloud, so you can go and practice your Linux using that. Yeah, #Doomer. I officially, I don't want anybody else to take Doomer away. We're gonna make Doomer into the Gen X term since Gen X doesn't make sense. It was actually it was paper. No, it was paper MC. So paper MC lets you. Can we still have gamer night? We could all be on Zoom. I mean, that would be fun. That would still be fun. I think it would be a blast. I kind of miss it. I mean, I won't lie. I miss it. It was so fun because, I mean, we'd have people, we played DJ and anybody, I had a kicking sound system, and we would with the big old PAs, and then we turn on the different songs and people, it's funny because there was a pub across the street. And so parents would drop their kids off, and they would come over for game night, and then they would go to the pub. We'd see pictures of them at the pub on their Instagram. And they would there was a band or a couple of bands that used to play at the pub across the street, and they would bring, the whole band would bring all the kids over. Yeah. And we would play stuff. I actually miss that pub. I wonder if they're open. I bet they're not. I bet they're still Old Town Public House. Man, I hope they're doing okay. I hope that pub's doing okay. Pubs, how do they survive during this? I mean, that's like they make their money on getting together on Atmosphere. So it's 1:56. I've made it the whole 3 hours, although you know what? I largely stayed on task. I'm going to say, I told you there wasn't as much to cover today, so maybe we're okay. You got plenty of my ranting about site reliability engineer, and hopefully there's some education in there. At least you know what you're dealing with. Half the problem when you're going for a job is knowing what to talk about, knowing how to talk about it, being able to distinguish between, DevOps and site reliability engineer. If I were going to interview, I'd ask you that question. Well, this position is for a site reliability engineer, Mark. Please, can you describe some of the differences that you find between the SRE title and the blah, blah, blah? And they'd be like, oh, they all have Linux? Linux is important to be embedded. You know what? We have people that are much more qualified to answer that question about embedded engineer. I have met a very, very, very successful engineer at the pub. Believe it or not, all things full circle. He was a very, very successful embedded engineer who worked in 100% remote on his own projects on his own terms. This amazing guy. We actually met at the pub while he was doing his work during the middle of the day, and I was doing my work during the middle of the day. They said, hey, we should be accountability partners. And he's like, okay. So have you ever read DevRant? No, I think I might like that. Anyway, so this embedded engineer, I asked him all the time. I was grilling him constantly. What? I have lots of people that want to be embedded engineers. What do they need to know? They said they need to learn embedded C. I mean, and he had, I forget the tool he had, but he had the coolest 3D software that would show you the heat tolerances of all his components that he had put in his own embedded devices that he was building. And then of course he would 3D print like prototypes of the cases for these things that these big companies had contracted with him to design. So stinking cool. Raid, Chris, yeah. And so, I mean, I seeing what he was doing, I was like, oh my God, I can do that all day, every day. And so if you like embedded, I do think Linux is still a really, really big thing. Linux on ARM is a big embedded thing. We can raid CTT. All right, I'm going to go ahead and raid because I want to go outside. It's beautiful out there. Say, who are we raiding? So, Twitch raid, Chris Titus Tech. I guess there we go. And we'll give him a shot. Does that take off? What do I suggest you read over the weekend? Actually, over the weekend, I suggest you read, start reading the book. Okay. You guys read as much of the book as possible. So the book is on rwx.gg/books. We're going to be going through the Linux book, beginning to end, next week and the week after that. Read it as much as you can. I'll be posting my links to the annotations so you can read the annotations along. Yes, we're going to be going through the TLCL book. It's the top one, and that is the next 2 weeks. Okay. And we're going to rehouse a bunch of our LS and, VI stuff in there, but I'm going to add a lot. Did you know the book doesn't cover the find command? Yeah, that was a big omission. So I had to make my own annotation addition about that. I'm going to be writing all weekend, except for tonight when I'm going to be playing with Docker to make an Arch Docker distro. That I'm going to be just jamming and making a Docker Arch distro tonight for fun. So if you want to tune in for that, I don't know when that will be. So you guys already gone. I imagine you guys are going to leave here pretty soon. Finger is a good command. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All the things you can do with the finger command. They changed it to name it poke and some other stuff too. Yeah. So, we'll play around with some of that stuff tonight. How are we doing on the raid? Because I don't want to leave until you guys leave. You guys are gone. I should probably go check. Maybe I should go launch you. And then I'm going to put links to all the videos too. So right now there's no links to the videos in the schedule. You're still here. It's funny too. I learned too that after the raid that sometimes raid, yay. All right, guys. Please give him my best. It will definitely work. IRC things still work. Yeah, IRC is not a thing. I wish there was some notification when it goes through. Oh, nice. Yes, I definitely post my streams in YT. Yeah, I do too. It says I'm hosting now. Oh, Scream, thanks for that since you're already there. All right. Well, I am going to take care and I'm going to go of myself and go do some yoga. And then I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to come back. I have to work here at like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So I only have a couple hours. I'll see y'all later and do my Twitch stop. Bye.